Well. Happy Sunday, folks. We are
A little
here for
Sunday.
episode 19. Finally, we got our stuff together. And it was worth the wait because we have an honored guest this evening. Katie, how the hell are you? Welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm doing well. It's good night.
We
Indeed.
kind of skipped a week there. Was it a week and a half, 2 weeks, 7? I don't know. I lose track of time. But point being, there's been a long break since we've last podcast, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff.
So much to talk about.
Mostly
Also,
molding.
yeah, I just want to point out that So Bad was here very early tonight, but it wouldn't be a hold the line if he didn't happen to leave right when the podcast was starting on the stream.
He's got to get those reps in while he's podcasting. Look at that. He's setting up his
If you
pedals.
see his face
I
and not the chair.
didn't buy this under the desk bicycle for nothing, all right? We're going to be going for miles.
Honestly, dude, if you're really committed, right, you hook that up to your power supply with a turbine and you run your PC on that thing.
Yeah.
It turns off if you stop.
At least your monitor. At least your monitor.
Yeah, you're right. You probably couldn't generate enough to run like
I
a
don't think so.
3080.
I don't think the human legs are.
Unless you're Lance Armstrong or something.
I don't think So Bad's little legs are generating 600 watts.
I don't even think they're generating 100 watts. Plus, I'm going to be eating pizza while bicycling, so we can
Carbs,
tell where
baby.
the priorities are.
Carbs.
It seems a little counterproductive.
So, where should we begin? We missed a lot. We had hotfix. Was it 32? And do we have a second hotfix in our gap in our podcast gap? 'Cause I forget. I know hotfix 32 was huge though. We have a lot to talk about there.
I posted a big old thing about it, which is now buried under a sea of our shenanigans in the group chat. But yes, was a rather major update. The patch itself wasn't too crazy, but we got a few new things like Ice Shield or Ice Mastery for Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Divine Protection is now an actual usable skill, not just a meme.
Hey, we'll go through it one by one and kind of dissect it.
Yeah, the previous thing that we had brought up that we were going to talk about before we delayed several times was that there was a huge amount of potential updates announced for the game coming in a couple of weeks when the wipe actually happens, which we all, I guess, sort of expected to be right at the end of the season, but that is no longer the case. So we have tons of stuff to talk about. Some of it is in the synopsis there, but we'll let Arcane drive on this one, because if we don't, we're never going to get through this all.
Oh, man. Yeah, there is a lot to talk about for the upcoming season and even preseason or intermediary period, rather. But before we dive into that, I want to get Katie's thoughts, since she is our guest of honor today, about the current state of the game and what you're liking about it the most right now, and what you're not liking the most about it right now.
I mean, that's a good question. I
Is it
guess,
rogues?
Okay, all right. I mean, we could start on the rogues. We could talk about smoke pot. I think that's an obvious, an easy.
Whoa! Come on, we're not doing any
angle of
illegal.
Well,
drugs on
we
this
can save it.
podcast.
We can save it.
We can save the smoke pot conversation. No, I mean, I think Ice Caves is probably my highlight right now. I love the map. It's really good. I haven't gotten a ton of playtime on it, but that's because of the negative, which is the rotations for me. I give me rotations or give me free pick, but God, don't give me both, because I can't remember to jump to the rotation to go to Ice Caves when it's on on the dial. And then it's like, well, I could wait 15 minutes and hit this, or I could just run on a Goblin Caves, and I end up just running Goblin Caves all day long, barely touching like ruins or anything. So kind of hoping they change the rotations a little bit. But as far as the content they added, I like it. I like the
Class-wise, what are you liking?
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Ken. Go ahead. Let's touch on that real quick.
Well, I just want to say, Ice Caves has been my favorite map as well. I think it's the most slept on map. People have a bad taste in their mouth because when it came out, you had 9 minutes to play the video game, but now you have 20 minutes, and you actually have time to deal with the mobs. Not having to worry about a circle has been very relieving. You just get to play the game and go in whatever direction you want and just play how you want. And it's honestly, I think they should do more of it. when the game first came out, I really liked the circle. I was like, oh, this is cool. We have an extraction shooter with a BR circle. That's so interesting and fresh. But now that I'm playing without it, I'm like, why the fuck do we need that thing?
Yeah.
I agree completely. Yeah. I mean, it makes me think that they should do like a unique effect for all the maps. So like change Goblin Caves, you know, like give it its own unique no circle, whatever mechanic. You know, maybe just keep the circle to crypts and runes and
Or hear me out. They could just delete the Goblin Caves. Like they could delete them.
Whoa, hold
I
on.
think that's a little extreme.
That's some fighting words right there.
On the topic.
Sorry. Yeah, for my crowd.
On the yeah, well, I mean, it's half and half here. I think Scott could go either way with that, but
no, I would
for
be
me,
all for the removal. I'd be down.
Oh my god.
Okay, well, it's 3-2, so I'm sorry, guys, it's gone. I'm sorry, Katie. We brought you on the podcast.
Get into the blue Goblin Caves.
The blue Goblin Caves, yeah. The screamy goblins. Anyway, I
need more colors.
Yes.
I need more torch colors.
It does.
Until a miracle from God himself fixes the ruins, I will keep asking them to just put crypts back in the game because I miss that map so much, especially all of the different variations of crypts. There's so many modules that don't even exist anymore because you cannot get them. They do not exist in the game anymore, which is really disappointing. But overall, I think Ice Caves is a very good map, and I'm interested to see. They said that they want to have Ice Abyss out for the next big patch. Not the 2-week waiting period that we've got, but the one that's supposed to start the next preseason.
Ice Abyss sounds cool, but I just don't know, like during like the time being, why don't they just don't add red portals to Goblin Caves and Ice Caves that just go down to Inferno? That while they work on Ice Abyss, while they work on the Goblin Abyss, just somewhere to go down, because everyone likes Inferno. No one doesn't like Inferno. Like, let us go down. It would make Ice Caves so much better. It would make Goblin Caves so much better.
Make questing so much better. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that too. I didn't even think about that. It's crazy. That would help questing a ton.
Yeah. Centaur Hoof really is even harder to get now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Katie,
I don't think nobody would dislike that. It'd also be another escape route, right? Like there'd be more actual portals in Goblin, even if they're red, you have something to run back to.
I just hope we see some ruins changes. You know, like they're talking about ice maps and wyverns, and I love all of it, and I want to see it. We got to see like ruins get a little bit of just a little love, maybe a little bit of touch up, some more modules, maybe a little bit of a change up.
I think we're being generous by saying it needs a little bit of love. That map is a catastrophe. When we first got the trios rotation where everybody was able to play, both Ken and I said, like, you know what, Rune's actually kind of fun to play in trios because it was fun to get a map where you were just like constantly full throttle on all PvP. But as soon as that was like the permanent thing and we no longer had crypts and like there was nobody in crypts anymore, once we actually get down there, it's like, okay, wait a minute, this actually kind of sucks. This is actually a little boring, to be honest.
Well, like the nice part about ruins is like when you have a fight, there's like room to like move around and stuff. Where when you fight in crypts for a year straight, you get a little claustrophobic. You're just fighting inside of narrow hallways. There's a couple of big rooms in crypts, and like those fights are very refreshing, but they're few and far between. And ruins, it's just very open. All the fights you get into is like very open. You have more room to move around and like try to flank and stuff, and that was fun. But then they come to the caveat of like everybody just being able to move around and like third party and fourth party and fifth party and rat and double jump and smoke pot. I'm not even gonna start.
I hear the PTSD flying.
Yeah,
it just hit me.
It's podcast wide by now.
You know it's bad when it's not even just obnoxious for the streamers and all triple bis gold kits. It's even just the average players are like, this shit sucks. Please do something about the double jumping rogues. And it's not the double jump needs to go. It's the map needs to be changed very badly.
Agreed. I think it's a design problem.
100%.
Yeah, it was a good idea. Just
it was a fun experiment, and Iron Mace loves using the early access. We're experimenting. We're trying things. Okay, cool. We experimented with it for a long time, and we unanimously almost dislike it. So let's do something about it, please. Stop. Don't just leave it there.
I feel like people have been saying that for a long time now. Pretty much since like I want to say day one.
Close to it, yeah.
Very close to it. Yeah, that's tough. I don't know. I hope they change it up.
All right, what if Ruins was only available as a normal map, and then for HR you just queue into Crypt? It just skips. There's no Ruins HR at all.
Just put the normies on runes.
Yeah, and then like
actually, I'd be
everyone has
kinda
to
fine
come
with
together
that.
to quest, right? Like when everyone goes to normals to do like your initial quest for like chapter 1 or 2 or what have you. And then it kind of gives, especially since normals is about to have its own adventure point track for the new season. And so now it kind of shifts people into normals and HR. You're doing like a back and forth thing. I think it could be fun.
It's not the worst. The only problem I think of that immediately is like, how am I going to accumulate my extreme wealth of gold if I have to go into normals and get less per node? Yeah,
It's
that's
just
my
the
main.
questing.
I know.
Only questing, only quest.
That sounds like
being
the
selfish.
opposite of your problem,
Yeah.
that we have, which is gold is more valuable per ore, and
Oh,
there's
wait a
less
minute. I
of
never
it
thought
in
of it
the
like that.
economy.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the gold price goes up at that point.
Oh,
Yep.
right.
Less farmers.
Yeah, let's add gold to
And
the
then
ice
also
caves. I'll be
less
set.
gold less gold gear circulating.
Rutak, I just want to ask a question. Am I crazy, or did they say that they were going to have malachite in the ice caves, and they never did? Like a new
Malachite
mineable.
was a data mined thing that there was a lot
Ryan
of
found,
speculation
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Did they not
Ryan
announce
and
it?
one
I thought they
other-
did, and I
no.
thought maybe I was
I don't
crazy.
think so.
Okay.
Nope, you got Mandela effect on that one.
They talked about
bro.
gems though, right? Like actual Iron Mace talked about gems and like a polishing and like a socketing system. So that's where I could see Malachite coming in.
I
Or
kind of
if
liked
you mine any of it, you get like a chance at a gem. Like if you're mining ruby silver, you could get ruby, cobalt, sapphire, etc.
So this is no secret to nobody, but I think Dungeonborn sucked balls. I'm very open about that. But they had gems, and I like their gemming system, and I think Dark and Darker could definitely use something like that.
I love how
I didn't actually know how the gym system worked in that game. Never really got into it.
It's
It's just
gems
gems with
with
stats.
socketing, right?
Socketing. Okay.
Yeah, but it was so minimalistic. It actually would
It was
work
very
well for our
simple.
game. It was
It was
only
kinda
like
like
one,
WoW.
like one stat. So you would get like one strength on a gem, and then you would put it in your
Oh.
blue socketed gear piece. So
Okay.
it would be fine for our game.
I mean,
if
I'd
it worked
love to see
similarly to that.
socketed.
the blacksmith
such a
gave you
sweet-
the ability to re-roll a stat or a gem for a cost, and it didn't really matter because the common quality gems or like the uncommon, the greens, were dropping so frequently that you didn't really care to use that system. But they talked about adding much higher quality tiers of gems and even gems that have like some more powerful effects on them. I don't know how that would fit into the ecosystem of Dark and Darker, but it's definitely an interesting idea. I would love to see them try it.
Yeah, regardless of like balance or whatnot, I just like the idea of gearing up being more interesting, and I feel like gems definitely do that in a very simple and like easy to execute kind of way, and makes things customizable. You could do make way more niche builds when you have more customization. So that's why I love that kind of stuff.
Since we-
Multi-classing when
Oh crap!
No, that's
Hey,
2025.
it's gonna be
I-
such a shit show.
If you open up the game right now and if you go to the training tab, it says coming soon. It'll be there very soon.
Okay.
Oh yeah, just like Druid. Oh,
Oh.
Yep. It's
Yeah,
December.
but
It's
Druid
coming
is soon.
oh here we go.
Druid actually feels like soon.
What are we?
Hey,
What are you month 5 of Sobad being like?
It's
Druid
December.
coming out
Druid- it's
next
on the
Tuesday,
way.
baby.
I'm gonna be dropping YouTube videos. It's almost here.
I think every single lobby is just going to be druids.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that's
join
what
a
I came
lobby.
out.
Everyone's gonna be that. It's gonna be great.
So okay, imagine though you're chasing a druid, right? And he becomes a rat and runs under the door, and then you become a rat and run under the door, and then the barbarian behind you just breaks the door. It's just this like Tom and Jerry ridiculousness.
I actually love that you just said Tom and Jerry. I just now have that picture in my mind of
can
just
see it.
chasing little rat druids through the dungeon. That's fantastic.
I can't wait. They got like 109% move speed druids just on all fours, scurrying about. You think the rogues are bad? You're just gonna wait for like the little druids in rat form sitting in a bush, waiting
What's
to come
the-
suck up some loot.
What's the druid equivalent of the smoke pot going to be?
Wall of thorns.
Wall of
Yeah.
thorns. They just
Yeah.
constantly wall of thorning us.
Yeah.
Or if they're
every
really
doorway.
evil, they could, if they want to like steal some stuff from WoW, they can give them the buff that druids used to have, where they give themselves a defense, and every time you hit them, you get rooted.
Oh no.
Like imagine if Wizard's Ice Shield could also root you with Ice Mastery, and then you just walk away.
Oh no.
That sound like a mess.
Yeah.
I hope bear form's good. I hope when someone transforms into bear form, it's a real, it's
It's
real
scary.
nice. Scary, yeah.
I mean, demon form is kind of scary, so I think bear form could be scary as well.
True.
Dude, I've
Right,
been
so
trying to
we-
make Demon Form work. I've been trying so hard to make it work. It's so
Yeah,
Medium.
it's
I had,
tough.
I had a moment in solos that felt like it was pretty good, just because of the speed and being able to like turn a corner, throw a dark bolt, and then just fade back into the corner without any repercussions.
I feel like they can
Otherwise-
nerf the degen a little bit instead of 1.5. Maybe just make it 1% or something. Give me a little
I mean,
something. armies.
Moving full speed and casting is crazy.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah,
so
it's-
good.
and life leech.
Oh, right, the life leech on
It's a-
bolt. True.
It's a very short window, though. I think you only get like 1 or 2 bolts off.
Unless
during
you
the
have
short wall hits.
115% buff duration, okay?
Yeah.
Unless you're stacking buff duration, baby.
I'm on the fence between loving the idea of builds requiring you to look for specific types of gear. Like we already sort of have that with Torture Master Warlock. You need magic healing to a certain degree, especially after the nerfs. But I don't know how much I love the idea of builds really being like hard gated behind that. And I do think that Warlock like genuinely needs the buff duration bonus, and they need like lots of regen in order to be able to, or like I don't know if it stacks
Very gear
magic
dependent.
healing. Yeah,
Mhm.
the class in general has been very gear dependent, but
I think like the Torture Master lock is like the extreme version of that. I think in general though, like there are lots of builds that need specific gear, but it's not to that extreme and it's not that bad. But when it comes to like Warlock, you just need 20 healing, unexaggerated, like actual 20 healing to like go net positive on your Hydra, which is just crazy.
Do you feel
I
like
don't know
that
what
should
that
be a necessary mechanic for the Warlock, though? That they need the Hydra to heal off of? I know that's kind of the meta, but if you reduce the amount of penalty that you get from Torture Mastery, I mean, it's double, right? It's double the blood cost to cast spells when you engage Torture Mastery. Am I right about that? It's been a couple days. Okay. So if that comes down, and I can't believe I'm proposing something that would effectively be a Warlock buff, but if that comes down to 50%, because it's a 100% increase for that, if it comes down to 50%, then it reduces the amount of magic healing that you need to be successful, or really just for that to be a valuable, any of your curses to be valuable for healing. But I guess that doesn't directly have to do with the Hydra and whether or not that should be a necessary mechanic. I think it's nice. But how do you guys feel about that overall? Like, should you be able to heal off the Hydra? And what if we reduce Torture Mastery penalties?
Well, when they first came out with Hydra, I was like, they should. But this is back when healing was much stronger. I was like, you should just make it so you can't heal off Hydra. I think that'd be fine. But that was back when you had a lot more healing, but now that like you have much less healing, now you need to be able to heal off Hydra, or you're just dead, or you just can't take Torture Mastery. You have to play Life Drain or something. I just think the nerfs they did were the wrong nerfs, right? They did a flat scaling nerf across the board, like 3 times actually. When in reality they should just be nerfing on a curve. So the more magic healing you get, the less effective it is. So you could still be like a mid kit Warlock with 10, 11 magical healing and be effective. But like the guys with 25 healing aren't, unkillable. And that's just stuff you just do on a curve. They've done it with all their other stats. I don't know why they couldn't do it with healing. I don't know. It just seemed like the wrong nerf. A blanket nerf that honestly just kind of hurt the lower end of players, because at the end of the day, the people who have billions of gold are still putting these 20, 22 magical healing gear sets together, and they're still fucking doing the same thing.
True.
It just hurts the common folk.
Am I crazy for saying that it feels like common sense that we should just separate the magic healing aspect from it? Because the curve makes it so that I almost feel like no matter what you do, unless you add some kind of base healing to Torture Mastery, like an increase to the base healing, the curve is always going to make it so that the low end of that is like basically unplayable, or it just feels so bad that you'd rather play a different build.
Well, I mean, if your curve is steep, right? Like say like 1 magical healing to like 9, you're getting like 100% scaling, and then it like drastically nerfs from like 9 to 12, and then 12 to 15, and then 15 plus or whatever. Like, and then it'd be like the 0.25% or 0.2% that it is now.
I think the problem is that it puts so much, because you need to put so much into magical healing. It's not just that you need that much to play it. It's that there's so much opportunity cost for your actual character's damage and like health and any other stat that you need to sacrifice in order to gain magic healing to make the build function in the first place. So
that's the trade-off. I mean, like when I'm out here building dexterity on my wizard kit because I'm trying to bong people, like I'm making sacrifices, baby, and that's what you got to do. I think and that's kind of like the beauty of niche builds.
No, that's not the same. Stacking decks isn't making sacrifices. You're gaining.
Dude, I'm wearing a fucking
damage.
frock. I'm making sacrifices.
I was about to say you got the frock on, right? 'Cause the frocks are exactly where I go with that because you get the mental warfare too aspect of it.
People
that man
never
is in
expect it.
rags. That's the potato sack wizard.
Yeah,
Fuck,
potato sack wizard over
killed
here.
me.
Oh, dude, the amount of gold people I've just bonked in my frock. They just think you're a noob, dude. They underestimate you. You have the sleeper kit on.
Mhm.
I love it. That's been my new thing. I think my new favorite way to play the game is to not. I've like swore off gold. I'm like no gold
I'll wear
anymore.
it. Yeah.
I'm
I'll wear
like
it either.
I just wear decent gear that isn't gold, and all these gold people disrespect you, and they just ape into you like you're a peasant, and they get humbled,
Peasant.
and it's great. It's great.
Oh, it is fantastic. I agree. I mean, playing solo, like you can't really run around in gold. You're gonna get the whole lobby coming after you. Even wearing a Pavis, you just look like a bigger target. You look more menacing walking in a room. I've had two people, they'll be fighting. I'll walk in the room and they're interested in fighting me suddenly just because I look a little more interesting. I've got that big
You made yourself
shield.
big.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a peacock effect or something.
Literal
I don't know.
monkey brain
What's
in the
behind that
dungeon.
Pavis?
Exactly.
What are you hiding behind that giant piece of wood? I can't see past that doorway. Is there another person in there? Get him.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So,
All right,
Katie,
well,
you've played a little
Sorry, go
Warlock.
ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to ask
Okay.
this earlier, but this is probably a good point to segue into it. You've obviously played some Warlock. When I started watching you, you were, I feel like, pretty well known as a wizard main, but I know you played a ton of longsword. At this point in time, do you feel like you have a true main, or are you kind of at a top 3 class? Where are you at?
I think I've got more of a top 3 going on. I just enjoy. I play the game too much to lock myself down on one class. I just kind of like playing them all. It depends on the meta. I think I'm a bit of a off meta enjoyer. Like I'm running Warhammer hand crossbow today with Pavi's shield slam. Like I'm always trying some weird stuff. Whatever's kind of funky flavored of the month, I'm going for. So Warlock was really underplayed. Like or Wizard was underplayed. Back then, like not a lot of people were running it. So it was just kind of fun to do something different.
Right on. So as a Renaissance woman of the game, what do you feel like is the least playable, viable class right now?
In solos or trios?
Let's go solos first.
Okay. So in solos, I would probably say I'd probably say Cleric, honestly, because the Cleric kind of sucks, and I feel like you're getting bullied by too many different classes that are like really, really good right now. Like Barbarian's gonna ape you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You need such gear investment. When you're naked, it feels really bad. Like I don't know how you're supposed to win anything unless they like just W into your smite. It's tough. Cleric's got it kind of hard out there right now, especially with the staff buff. They caught a stray with that one. I ain't gonna lie. The staff buff.
I actually have
Debuff, rather.
Debuff, I have a take on that.
The nerf, yeah.
Like clerics should like win a lot of straight up 1v1s in fights, but they're the slowest person in the dungeon, and it's always been the problem where fighting a cleric is always 100% optional. So like if you're ever losing, you just get away from him and
you can just leave.
So basically, if you die to a cleric solo, usually it's your fault.
You have to consent to it. You have to consent to die to a cleric.
It's consensual losing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I actually tried a new build since Divine Protection got super buffed, and of course you can't always just walk away from a cleric when they have Divine Protection. But I started trying out like a 20% lightweight, 20% PDR lightweight cleric, stacking a decent amount of both magic and physical damage without sacrificing too much health and movement speed. And it felt pretty good because I was running bind. Believe it or not, it actually felt pretty good to be able to catch people because, like you said, you could just turn around and walk away from cleric. But if you're running a lightweight kit and relying on Divine Protection to provide you with the PDR when you're actually in the fight, if people want to take the swing with you, the slugfest with you, you can take the fight. I mean, I think it's one of those things where if you recognize, I feel like if you recognize the cleric is what they're doing and you full commit to just leaving, if they're not really on top of you with bind and hitting holy strikes, and there's not enough magic damage there to like nuke you, it's not that much of a threat. But I think it's actually more viable than anything else Cleric has going for it at the moment. With that said, I have to agree. I still think it's probably the worst, except maybe 10 spell wizard,
I mean, the
because they
PvE
just get W keyed.
The PvE really sucks. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a mace enjoyer, but man, it's, it is not a fun time going through the goblin caves, killing those goblins with that starting mace.
Use the quarterstaff. What are you doing?
Morningstar actually feels good,
Morningstar is where it's at. Yeah, Morningstar is where it's
Morningstar.
at. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just use pulverizing prayer, Katie. It's easy.
Yeah.
Come on,
Just
Chad,
dismantle
give her
their
a prayer.
I like the warhammer. I'll say that. I like the warhammer.
So do I. It's so good with smite too. It's like honestly, it's the best on cleric if you like the warhammer.
20% armor pin. I mean, what's not to love?
I love it on fighter. Actually, it's very
Same.
fun. It's too bad that sword mastery. Like, I like sword mastery. I know we're getting out of a tangent here, and I want to hear more about your top 3 classes for solos. But this little tangent about sword mastery, I like the idea that they've introduced with this of giving you the ability to specialize a little bit more. But I dislike the fact that they haven't given them something else in addition to it. I mean, maybe I'm just being, a little greedy or hasty here, but there's
the movement
no
speed's negligible, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just 2 weapon damage and action speed. The movement speed's helpful. I thought the impact resistance was more interesting, even though it didn't work the way I was expecting it to.
I agree with you.
But
I think they could have done more interesting things. The 10% gain when holding right click is, I mean, I guess if you're like fishing, like if you're just gonna hold right click and you're gonna commit to that, then like it's kind of nice to reposition. But like I don't know how much use you're really getting from that. I would have liked to have seen the action speed go from 5 to 8, like the Bard buff.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
what are you gonna
the
do?
perk works, I think, in the idea of if you're using like shield mastery, which gives you the 10% while you're holding the shield, barricade, and sword mastery. But then you have to give up the defense mastery if you want to keep swift, which is basically mandatory for fighter. I think that works if you want to be a frontline fighter. And here's the thing I almost nobody seems to know about. If you have shield mastery and you block with a buckler, you actually move faster while you're blocking with the buckler than you do normally. And it doesn't work that way with round shield or heater. You lose a massive amount of movement speed. I don't know if it's bugged.
No,
for
you
the
do
other
it
2
on Bards
shields.
too. The buckler is just like -7 movement speed penalty. It just doesn't have. It's not like a heater or a round shield. You can move almost, full speed. Like, I think
Yeah.
something like -20 or something like that.
Yeah, okay. So the main point that I was coming up with sword mastery feeling like it wasn't adding enough is that like fighter is supposed to be the class that can use every weapon, especially if you're running weapon mastery, but there's no like by introducing sword mastery you sort of de-emphasized other choices like flange mace and warhammer and 2-handed weapons that aren't a sword like halberd or spear or anything else.
I see what you're saying. It basically made like all the already meta weapons better.
Right.
So like now, why would I even bother using some of these?
I love
weapons?
Warhammer.
Yeah, me too.
But why would I use it on fighter when sword mastery exists?
Yeah, free 7 damage for the meta weapon. You're right. Yeah, it's
why use the Warhammer when you could just use like the crystal sword or sword mastery? It's ridiculous. Like it's just so much better. It's crazy.
Don't you have to be
I feel
holding
like
a shield?
they
No,
do
you
that a
don't. You
lot.
shouldn't.
It's hard for them to introduce new things to try to make whatever's off meta like more relevant because they just end up making it meta. We all just kind of meta slav around it. It's not just
Oh
the
my
streamers because we're making build guides and then other people just follow us.
Is that really how that works? Crystal sword mastery is proccing on that? You're fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
That's
Speed.
disgusting. That's disgusting, actually. I hadn't even considered the interaction between the magic damage. That's beautiful. I mean, the attack speed alone is action speed's great.
I got
Just
one
get a
shot
wizard
by a
to
crystal
ignite you.
sword yesterday on my cleric.
That's
Nah,
super
but nerf
wild.
staff
That's
mastery.
all
But nerf staff mastery. It's fine. People still complaining about it. That's crazy.
All right, so
Dude's still gonna kill him. Yeah.
we said the B word earlier, balance. We've been talking loosely. We've been kind of like towing around the right as we've been discussing these. How do we feel about and not talking about problems like smoke pod, double jump, rogue on ruins? How do we actually feel about where balance is at right now? Because I think it's actually relatively good for duos and trios, and I don't care about balance and solos because you can't balance solos. That's sort of my take on it.
I mean, I think trios or duos have been fine. I think like in a 3v3 setting, like nothing feels too broken. They nerfed longbow damage a little bit. I still think like ranger damage is still slightly high, but I don't even think it's like I think it's like high base damage of longbow with a combination of headshot multipliers. Like that's like the problem with the ranger. It's like getting one shot by headshots with like in Biscuit. Like, that's always been the problem. It's not like the ranger is fundamentally broken or anything. But for the most part, probably barbarians feel manageable.
Yep.
Slayers, and I've seen a lot of Slayers lately. Like Slayers that are fast, but they're squishy. Like it all feels like all the classes have their strengths, and but they all have like ways to deal with them, with the exception of Cutthroat Rogue. But yeah, I think Cutthroat's ridiculous.
Cutthroat's,
as a spell enjoyer,
game, I'll be honest.
As someone who like just casts spells all day, I don't like it when someone just turns off my kit.
I think it's crazy that they looked at that matchup and they were like, yeah, you know what? Rogue needs to kill them more frequently. They need a better ability to kill wizards. Like, I die to them all the time. All the time as a wizard. It drives me crazy. Almost nothing you can do in some situations. Just like, well, that's it. You know, I went the wrong way. I should have read his mind, I guess. Like, what was I meant to? And now they get what was it? Whenever they first added, it was like 6 seconds or something. I mean, they tuned it down to 4, but I think a patch after that, or before it rather, they actually nerfed the Bard silence too. It's like 2 seconds on Bard. A song, like you got to take memory for that, play an instrument, got to whip that out, got to land it. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, fuck rogues.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ranger headshot damage still too high, and fuck rogues.
Yeah. Pretty much, honestly, everything else feels good. I think Cleric has been busted before they even buffed him and gave him 10 spell back and buffed their heals. That being said, no one's complaining about Clerics being OP, so I'm just gonna leave that one. Also, you're not seeing a lot of Clerics. So like in like a lot of like the top teams, a lot of them are going away from like Cleric comps. Like they're not playing like Fighter Cleric Ranger anymore. Even I think that's still a very good team. But like a lot of like the top teams are playing like Wizard Ranger Warlock, Wizard Ranger Rogue, Wizard Ranger Bard. They're really going away from like the heals.
I think that this is a little bit of a meta comment, but I think that is not because
I think they're wrong to do that. By the way, I think they're totally wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it's because people don't want to play Cleric or even that Cleric they think that Cleric is weaker. I think it's that we're end of wipe and everybody's in gold gear and everybody just wants to be like a powerhouse and everybody wants to be the one making all the MVP plays and trios, and Cleric doesn't really like stand out as like the super high skill cap class like Ranger or Wizard or Warlock.
When I'm playing Cleric, I'm the main fucking character, right?
It just doesn't have the flashiness that the other classes do, even though it does have probably the highest impact on aside from a wizard playing the best game of his life and dodging everything and landing every spell and evaporating a team in 3 seconds, Cleric is generally pulling the most weight on the team for the most part. But that's a whole different thing.
That makes a lot of sense though. No, I hear what you're saying.
That's sort of just the nature of support classes, right? In any game is like you don't feel like you're the shining star of the team, and everybody wants to be the most important one when they're playing. So Cleric is less appealing for that reason.
Unless you're playing duo Cleric, which my buddy and I have been doing for the last couple of days. Duo Clerics in, any map, but mainly Ice Caves and Ruins has been a blast. I've been running Divine Protection with just a buff duration kit. If you get to 87%, it'll give you 8 seconds of Divine Protection, and you can eat 3 Halberd hits, 5 Zweihander hits at the same time and still have half your health left. It's bonkers. And we've been doing well. Like the dual Cleric he's been running Smite. I've been running Divine Protection. So I'll start off tanking. As soon as my Divine Protection ends, then I peel. He comes in with Smite and cleans up what's left while I heal. And if they disengage, then I'm running after them with full health, holy striking while they're trying to get away. And it is punishing, man. It's the most fun Cleric has felt. And I do agree with Katie and everybody else. I think it's still the weakest solo, but it at least feels like I have a chance now. And Barbarian is my favorite opponent to see on the map now, because they just W keyed, like most of them don't know. And they think it's 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, whenever they did that. And you really have a shot at taking them out now. So it's been a blast.
That does sound really nice.
Yeah. I know you said you didn't want to hear about solo balance, but I feel like actually along the similar lines of
I
what
said
you
I
guys
don't
talked
care about solo
Yeah, you don't
balance.
care.
Well, it's
It's-
just impossible to balance, but you still should talk about it.
It's impossible to balance, maybe, unless the focus is solos, and then you just have to like creep it back toward duos and trios. But I don't know. I've seen the most amount of class diversity this patch than I've ever seen in the past. There's like a good range of almost all classes. You do have like a couple extra barbarians and slayers, but like you guys are saying, I feel like there's a lot of bards. It's also, I'm not afraid anymore. You know, especially if I'm playing my bard, if I see a barbarian or a slayer, I'm like, okay, like I have the tools to deal with this. Whereas before, I'm like, oh great, it's a barbarian. Like he's max move speed, I'm fucked. I don't know. Like they've done a pretty good job hitting a lot of the power classes and then bringing them down a bit, and then bringing up like some of the weaker classes. I mean, I agree with Katie. I still think Cleric is probably the weakest solo. I don't see that many rangers in solo goblin at all, but I mean, it's all tight hallways and corners, so it's pretty hard for them to be effective unless they're just going to sit like a spider on traps.
Yeah, how we were talking about clerics like kind of falling out of favor earlier. I think a lot of it is like ruined, right? The slow, immobile support class is probably at its weakest in the open field, and it definitely feels way better like in crypts, in ice caves, even in goblin caves. If it wasn't solo, where you have like
when the
way
healer
to
can
corner people.
stand behind somebody and pump heals and then slip through and get an earthquake, that is when they're at their best.
Well, since we have Katie on, she's like notoriously known for like making these meme builds and these unique builds. You cooking up anything fancy, Katie? You trying anything new? Anything sticking out that you like, you're having fun with?
I've yeah, a little bit. There's been some things in the works. Mixing the ingredients together sometimes can be tiresome, but I strive to improve my formulas every single day. Right now, I'm really cooking on Warhammer hand crossbow. I like the way it combines. I like the synergy with it, and then I take the dual wield to get the action speed for the reload, and the obviously it has 25% armor pen because a hand crossbow has 5. The Warhammer's 20. Trying to make shield bash work, probably a waste of time, but it's the current flavor. Before that, nothing too much, nothing too crazy, just some long sorting, standard stuff.
Just the usual. I messed around with the crossbow slayer for a while, but no, not with Warhammer. I've always done with like Falchion or Arming Sword, and it is actually a lot of fun. It's having that crossbow shot, like going for melee, getting like a 1-2 hit on them, and if they break away from you, you just
totally
execute them. That always feels so good.
The combo has been to hit them with the shield bash, right? And to immediately try to turn away from them and turn into the hand crossbow and then hit them with the hand crossbow while they're slowed. And then we all in with the Warhammer. It's worked a couple times, but I've also died a couple times too. So.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, usually, if the shield actually absorbs the melee hit, right? Because sometimes they jump in on it, they try to hit me, and the shield does block it. If you shield bash them, it works now. Especially the Pavis is massive.
You do any griefing with the shield bash on ice caves on like the abyss zones? Knock
Not
people
yet.
into the abyss?
I have.
Not yet.
I've had it happen to me once. Definitely feels great.
Oh, that's brutal. Yeah, no, I haven't done it to anyone yet with that. I've thrown people into spike traps though. I've done that.
Oh, yeah.
And I've also bullied barbarians, because they only have physical weapons. So like if you're losing the fight, you can just sit in a door and hold the Pavis, and like really it's a test of patience or whoever gets third partied first now at that point, because they can't hurt you. I'm 74% PDR. They're swinging as a Y-hander at my feet. It's not, I'm hitting them with a shield bash every like 13 seconds for 20 damage, and it's just horrible.
Yeah,
so that's
Todd
fun.
has like a 70% magic damage reduction fighter set with the Pavis and stuff that we're messing around with, where he just goes in and I chain him. But he has a Pavis and they just can't kill him. And like that's like cool.
Toxic.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is toxic. Wow.
Pavis coil.
Yeah, Pavis coil, dude. The meta.
A Pavis squad. I love it. That's great.
Did you dabble in any
really
blocking?
cook on Warlock or something with a heater shield now? You can probably get max PDR with that.
Dude, the PDR Warlock build is a little slept on. I'm gonna be honest.
PDR.
You're just a fighter with spells, or a fighter with blow. Heater shield on Warlock. I can't believe they did that. That like surprised me. It really surprised me when they did that. 'Cause I'm like, shield are so strong in this game. Why are we giving them to casters, and like why are we just like not giving them to wizard? But yeah.
I thought it was gonna come with a perk. Imagine my surprise. It's just baseline. Like holy.
I had no idea why you would never run a shield on your Warlock. Like it's always the best option now.
I want to run longsword every time. That's partly why I had to stop playing Warlock. You're just griefing if you're not wearing the heater.
I mean, that's
maybe, I don't know. It slows you
sort
down
of
a lot.
50 for your armor. I mean, that turns my 20% PDR Warlock to 40%. You know, like with the right shield, but that's incredible. A
all right.
little more, a little less. You know, it depends. But normally, I end up with Warlock. I'll end up 25% PDR for holding a weapon. So holding a shield, like with percentage reduction and flat armor, epic, like that's amazing. That's such a superpower.
Yeah, just double your armor real quick. No big deal.
Yeah.
I think this chocolate chip cookie just gave me an idea. The sugar rush. What if clerics, if they bless themselves, they get 10 movement speed? Is that it doesn't affect
They already get
anyone
5.
else?
They get
Only
5 right now.
Self-cast, yeah.
what if they
Yeah,
yeah, but
they
is
get
that
5
enough
agility.
for them to catch anybody in solos, duos, or trios?
I'll be
No.
honest, dude. Clerics don't need the buffs. They really just don't.
They really
As a
don't.
cleric player, they
Mhm.
just don't. Like they are good, and I don't like even if they are the worst in solos. I still think they're not bad in solos. I feel like you could definitely build like a medium armor kit with decent movement speed with like Judge Holy Strike, and still be okay. But like you're not supposed to be out here slaying everybody in 1v1s. Like that's not what they are. That
I
being
feel like
said,
if you're gonna do
I'll take a
anything
buff.
with them, we could like update some of the perks like Brewmaster. So it actually
It's
does
funny,
something.
actually. Yeah, so I posted about that on Reddit earlier today.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, just a reminder that this perk still exists. That hasn't done anything for months.
one.
Yeah, Brewmaster give 10 movement speed. Now we're talking. Like, that makes a little more sense.
Oh,
to me.
I like that.
Yeah.
10 movements through all
Yeah, that'd be good.
drunk.
Sure. Just
Because,
like
yeah,
the Bard.
you wouldn't take it in trios, but you could take it in solos, and like
That would be great for solos.
Yeah,
Then
that
you
would
get a
be
strength buff. You move faster. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody would take that. That'd be fantastic for solos. Speaking of Reddit posts, so we were going to talk about this a while back, but we delayed several times. And we've had a discussion about some of these things on the podcast before. But Katie, you haven't been here for any of these discussions, so we'd love to hear you weigh on in this. But I made a post a while back about the Bonk Wizard things. Everybody was all up in arms about it and tried to get some genuine feedback from the community about, is Bonk Wizard actually the problem, or is it that the game's systems are too simplistic and rely too heavily on stats? And the overwhelming response from the community was that, yeah, the game's combat is just like a little too simple. There's too many binary systems in place that sort of just cause people to stat check each other, loading up on move speed and just W keying people down. Obviously, there's ways to counterplay, but do we think that the emphasis should be on trying to fine tune these systems, or should the emphasis be on trying to make the game more complex to give more room for skill expression by doing things like adding, maybe 4 skills instead of the 2 that you can use? Obviously, that could be very broken for cases like Rogue, but how would we feel about, like, let's shift focus from tweak these very simple systems and numbers. We've been doing this for a while now, and it feels like we've kind of gone in circles a bit. Should we now maybe think about making the game a little more complex? Do we think that's a bad thing? Or is it time to mature the engine and system a little bit? Katie, I'd like to...
Yeah, melee complexity is kind of scary. I mean, on one hand, like, could it really improve the experience for people who are like evenly matched? Sure. But could it also completely sort of how would you say this, like gatekeep certain players that just don't have the time to learn the system at all? Like, I mean, even if they put on good gear at this point, right? Like, if you can feint melees or parry people with any weapon or anything like that, like anything to add more skill expression to it, or push people away to like break them from doing what you mentioned with the movement speed, just like immediately being on top of you holding M1 to initiate like a stat check. Like, I feel like it's a slippery slope. If you go too hard with it, you're gonna end up in like a Mordhau or Shiv situation where the player base just cannot sustain, because more people are gonna be bad at that system than good at it, and the people that sweat really hard at it are gonna be in a tier above any mere mortal that dare try to take them on in the dungeon if they have complex melee mechanics. It's kind of scary. And as for going in circles with some of the balancing decisions they've done, I mean, yes, they've done some things a little redundantly. We've definitely treaded some ground that they've made certain things underpowered, overpowered, underpowered again. Rinse and repeat. But I think it's all improving with time, at the very least. Staff mastery, I think, is a culture shock more than anything. Right? People are used to getting next to a wizard and it just being like, okay, well, you die now, right? Like, I'm gonna hit you with my melee weapon, you're gonna die, unless you can cast magic missiles, which you can't, or whatever, right? But, I don't know. I don't think it's overpowered. The nerf was probably deserved. I think it's fine right now, though.
I think the nerf that the way they nerfed it was the wrong way to do it, especially because
I'll
they double
definitely
dipped
touch on that.
with the staff
could
nerf.
Just to talk on that.
Before I do want to get in on the one point that I brought up in there, which was how if we dialed down the power of some of the skills, like things like cutthroat, or having a rogue being able to do ambush, smoke pot, weak point, rupture. How would we feel about adding, like, just experimentally, maybe if we get the test servers like they've been telling us we're going to get, try adding maybe 3 skills, and if that feels good,
it would be busted, right? It would be busted from a bout perspective, which is like fine, but I'm always of the mindset that more button, more better. Like, give me more buttons to press.
I want more skill expression through.
Because you're a gig gamer, though, Ken. You're some kind of
but people like choices, dude.
Here.
People like to have options and hit buttons. And at the end of the day, if you
Howard gets off his day job after 12 hours, can't compete with this.
Well, barbarians always exist. You can always play the barbarian. Okay, if you work a 9 to 5 and you get home, just hop on the barbarian, go fucking arm to your life after death, and just go have some fun.
Okay.
Just yell 4 times, and everybody else will be like, I got my dash ability and my knockback ability. And Barb's like, I yell a lot and I just W at you.
I mean,
that's great.
I would love more complex mechanics. It would be fun. I worry. I want us to have a healthy player base too, right? I'd like the game to stay alive for a couple years.
I understand that.
So to continue on that point, though, point being like counterplay and like having options in fights, I think a lot of it is that you don't have time for counterplay because I think time to kill is still way too fast. Yeah, I think it would feel way less bad that if you got somebody got to jump on you, right, and you just didn't die instantly, and then you had like the option to maybe dodge a swing, disengage, parry, maybe reset slightly, and then get back. But as it is right now, whoever like strikes first like is at a huge advantage, and like they're always going to be at an advantage if you get the first hit. But it feels like an insurmountable like mountain to climb if somebody gets a jump on you. Like not even rogues, like any class. Ranger gets the first shot on you, the wizard gets the first zap on you, the rogue gets the opener on you, the warlock invis pots on you, the fighter hits you with the crossbow. Like the fight's like almost over the second somebody gets hit first, and that's like lame. I think
you think that's the result of the healing changes with bandages and potions? Because in the past, I mean, you used to be able to heal that chip damage no matter what class you were.
Well, I mean, I think you still have like decent healing. Like it's not too bad. It's just like time to kill is just too short. Like I can kill anybody in 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anybody in gear can kill anybody in gear in 2 seconds.
We did actually mention that in a previous episode too. Is that I think them increasing healing is good. I think having the ability to recover faster on your own, so that there's less of a gap between having a support and not having one, is a good thing. I'm in the minority in here, but I actually like Dungeonborn. I think it has plenty of problems,
and that's why your opinion sucks.
It has.
Let's pivot toward the wipe. What's coming up with the wipe?
Yeah, but I like the healing system in Dungeonborn. I think we can. There's lessons to be learned from each other game. But yeah, we don't want to dwell on this for too long because we still have tons of stuff to talk about. So let's actually get into the wipe.
All right, wipe hype.
Yep.
I think it's so bad.
14th, right?
Or yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Wait, did they announce it?
No, that's the estimated date, and everyone's ran with it. So, I mean, we're operating on like, right, like they said 4 days till the leaderboard's over, and then a 2-week cooldown. So it actually, the way they phrased it makes sense to us. So the end of leaderboard is Thursday the 29th, and then 2 weeks from then will be the wipe. So that'll put it at the 14th. But either way, even if it's like Friday the 1st, and then it'll be March 15th. Either way, we have a pretty precise timeline now. So leaderboard ends, 2-week cooldown, wipe. Let's get into it. What do we want to talk about first? Because my favorite topic is the time-gated quest system. I think it's probably one of the best things that can happen to this game.
Tell me, like give me the breakdown of time-gated quest. I know what time-gating means, but like.
So the time-gated quest will operate on the sense that week 1 will be chapter 1 quests available for all players. So you can only progress in the quests to X spot, wherever that may be. I like to assume it's to blue gear, so we can make like our sterling weapons. We can make like cobalt, make copper light. And so then there won't be this like massive power surge between players outside of found and raid items. So you won't have gold gear for like the first 4 weeks of the wipe. And I think that'll put everyone on a good playing field. It'll mean things will be constantly moving up and down in the marketplace. It'll actually be a fun economy system because gold won't be that valuable at first until the quest comes out. So you'll have some people stockpiling, trying to make like little stock decisions. Also, you can swap to an alt and then quest for chapter 1 if you get too far ahead, and then you can start kind of saving mats for the next quest chapters. I think it's a good system.
Is this a sub strange original idea? Is this
No, this is Iron Mace.
Iron Mace. Did they say that?
Yeah, they said
they
that.
announced it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like way too good of an idea for you. Like,
oh my
damn!
God.
I'll see myself out.
The gloves are off at this point. It's
I might have recommended that in veteran chat. You don't know; it could be my idea.
True. Okay.
Ken, I'm just gonna tag you in the message that I posted that has like sort of the breakdown of things that SCF talked about in Gen Chat, which before I want to talk about that, but let's not get off topic here.
Time getting quests sound good though. That's in general, like, that sounds awesome. Slow the game down.
I hope that also means that quests are going to be account wide, because I think the entire community has expressed that we really do not like being locked into a single character. If they're time getting the quests, it may be more manageable to complete those quests on multiple characters, but it still just doesn't feel good, especially for some of those things to be locked behind.
So do you just have
you
just have the same like crafts on all the characters?
Yeah.
I would say just make, when you turn in a quest on one character, it gives you the rewards, whichever character you turned it in, but then whatever functions come along with that, like if you have the crafting.
Yeah, they'll lower the amount of gear. Too,
yeah,
right?
That's a huge change, right? Because we'd be going from 11 potential rolls on your gold capes, right? Or 22 if you had 2 accounts to 2 if you had 2 accounts, right? You get 2 rolls.
As it should be.
As it should be.
Agreed.
I think we're all on the same page with that
as long as they make that change. Could you imagine if they didn't though? If they were just like, all right, they're account wide and everyone has unique crafts, all your characters are different crafts. It's like, Iron Hammer.
That would be an Iron Mace move too. That would be classic Iron Mace oversight. Speaking of Iron Mace oversight, do you know the copper plate boots have 5 strength on them?
Yep.
I have several pairs. They're very good.
What the fuck?
Yeah, the government doesn't want you to know this. I have 20. I have 20 of them.
Iron Mace hates this guy. Find out this one trick about copper.
Yeah, and golden plate boots have like 24 armor, but regular legendary plate boots have like 32.
Add some consistency. Yeah. A lot of weird grave wolf gloves, rogue darkness cowl. A lot of things need to be updated.
Oh, Iron Mace.
So the main benefit of the time gating system is that it'll allow the player base to be on a little bit more of an even playing field for the first parts of the wipe, which I think is sort of that's what you want out of the initial parts of a wipe, right? Is you want it to be this kind of like free for all where everybody's on the even playing field, but it's like, because everybody's starting fresh, it's very exciting. There's a lot of like who's who, what's what, everybody's kind of like figuring out new things. And then with the time gating system, we're not going to have people just like Ken mentioned, we're not going to just have people stacking up gold gear from all these different characters because they're playing, 8 classes with their friends that play 12 hours a day and getting it all done. I'm a big fan of this change. I saw a Reddit thread earlier about people saying that they think that the best gear in the game should come from the raid. And it technically does, but it really doesn't. Like, when's the last time you looted a unique item in raid that was actually better than like a handcrafted gold piece?
Oh, never.
Never.
Unless it's a named weapon. That's about it.
Yeah. Literally never.
Yeah.
Never.
So I really would love to see them, and there's a ton of items that got added like months ago when like they first dropped, like when the data mine came out, like the Dark Templar armor and all this other Druid stuff, like back in December. This stuff all got added to the game's files, and you could see it in the marketplace through the filters. I'm hoping that with this new system, we're going to have way more emphasis on biscuits being looted from the dungeon and not crafted.
Like right now, as it is, like the best looted gear is usually jewelry, right? And and then they got rid of that by buffing the frick out of Grim Smiles. But
true, the Grim Smiles has really thrown everything out of whack.
Yeah. So definitely, I want a lower emphasis on crafted gear because, like, I can't remember the last time I got a huge dopamine hit from just opening up a body and be like, oh, sick piece of gear, because it will never be better than a good gold piece, and that's kind of lame.
Yeah, but that's like that's a 1%er problem. But I agree with you.
I mean,
it's no problem.
Oh, the rest of us are still using purples.
Yeah, but like, you're not wrong.
It's just it has to do with perception too, right? It's like if you because the player base is so condensed at this point, most people are on Reddit or on Discord. So I think a lot of people are aware of what the meta is and like where the power is at. So as a player right now, when you look at the systems, the perception is that like just everything's gold. Everything's gold bis, gold this, gold that. And it is true for the most part, but it just kind of, I don't know, it feels very stale for a lot of people. And the TTK and stat inflation and stuff is part of that problem. But
well, it also makes everybody, at least the top end, everybody's wearing the same kits, right? Like, like all clerics are
just the same kits, by the way, the same kit that they were wearing 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that won't even talk on that. But like sometimes you would have more variance in gear because you would pick up a piece of gear that wouldn't be like a normal piece. Like I would say, I wouldn't normally use a padded tunic, but if I find like a really sick padded tunic, I'm like, okay, I might dial back the int, get some strength, wear this padded tunic because it's so good. But when I just had like readily available this gold gear with all the stats I could ever need, why would I ever have gear variance? Like it's always just I'm always wearing the same 6 pieces of gear, and it's boring. When I'm wearing gold. That being said, I have sworn off gold. You don't touch this stuff anymore. I've changed.
All right,
So on the crafting topic, real quick, we may have touched on this in a previous episode, or maybe I saw it on Darkest Hour. But what do you guys think about the idea of crafting in the dungeon? So maybe you can craft up to Cobalt out of raid, but to get the really good crafting done, you would have to actually bring your mats into raid and go to a forge to craft the really good stuff.
Talking about some Diablo stuff here.
I like it. Yeah, I'll support those kind of things for sure.
That's cool.
And in-game raid merchant would be good too. Anything like that, any kind of in-game interactions would be sweet.
Yeah, I agree. And they're adding that too, so that's a good transition to the expressmen, who they've announced for item delivery in raid. And the other
keep
one
in mind for everybody listening that one is purely speculation. They have
this
not
is very
confirmed at all
speculative. I don't think they said in raid at all, right? They said
No?
items. They said delivered items. Like that could just be your insurance being given by expressmen.
So it seems like those are two different things. Like the dungeon recovery system, the insurance, and the expressmen seem like they're two different things. It's definitely not confirmed. So yeah,
right.
This
but
is
go ahead.
Speculation. The insurance, I'm still on the fence about. Curious to hear you guys' thoughts, but the idea of being able to interact with more vendors or couriers for vendors in raid is definitely interesting. Thoughts?
It would be cool to just have a crow fly in from the ruins and deliver me a campfire when I'm in desperate need. That being said, I mean, I don't know why. I kind of like, doesn't that take the risk of bringing stuff into the dungeon if you could just have it ferried in?
Or out.
It does make me wonder if they are really going to put way more emphasis on the triple layer system and everything that they design, and if this is intended to be a way to resupply while they put the matchmaking system in to repopulate. Because if you go from ruins to crypts and there's one team down there, it's very boring to play out the rest of that match. But if we're repopulating the dungeon in between layers like they said they were going to do, having the expressmen could actually be very important.
So the expressman is like a delivery while you're in the dungeon kind of thing, like an Amazon Prime.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's the speculation.
Wait.
Bezos just shows up and hands you stuff.
I interpreted it.
I thought it was the opposite. Sorry.
I thought they were. So I thought it was insurance. Like they were talking about that, and then they were talking about a separate. Oh god, Iron Mace moment here, but they were talking about a separate merchant that sells gray equipment. That's what I thought.
That's
the Squire. That's a third.
That's
a third thing, at least in my understanding. Yeah.
So the actual wording on that, I think, was to increase convenience for players to access normal games, which is SDF Korean to English translation. It probably didn't say exactly what he meant.
One day, are we just gonna have 50 different merchants that just do 50 different things? I don't know. I'm just curious. And I love it, but
I think it would be better if they just had like in-game vendors. Like that would just do the same thing and probably be simpler, right? Like if you want like a resupply in your dungeon, just have a fucking Tavern Master in a certain module of a map that you can go to and go buy pots and
That
maybe
makes it
sell
feel
collectibles. Who knows? Sell collectibles mid raid. That'd be
Yeah,
kind of cool.
you know, that makes it feel like kind of roguelike-y in a sense. Like if you've ever played a roguelike where there's a vendor that you meet like halfway through the dungeon and you like sell stuff to him.
Paying a
It would create hotspots, and I'd be invis-potted on the merchant just waiting.
Oh my god! Can you kill the merchant? Is the question.
Had to be a null magic zone where the merchants are. Yeah.
Yeah, peacemaking zone or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nah, dude, a fight over it. Hotspots, baby.
No, that's your
like
rogue
it's got to
just
be
sitting
like
there.
a window in the wall kind of thing, so it
Light
can
orb the
spawn
vendor.
anywhere, you know, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we get gear insurance and the expressman is somebody like, let's say, in crypts and in the ice caves, and you find them and you can give them gear and they just send it to your stash for you, is this too much gear in the game? Like that'll really devalue the marketplace if we have insurance plus somebody taking your shit out of the dungeon for you, so you can just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper.
So yeah, let's just talk about insurance because like that's like a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on one end of the spectrum, right, insurance is very good for the average player who's like taking L after L. That's like wearing mid stuff, and their stuff isn't getting looted very often, and like they get that stuff returned back to them. That's actually a good thing for like those players. But where the problem is now, it's like at the high end, people wearing like full gold bits, for instance, right? Their gear is always going to be insured, right? And that gear will never leave rotation ever. Once it is made, it'll be in rotation for the entire wipe because this game has no durability system. Like if you want to have an insurance system, you have to have a durability system, or else you just have infinite inflation for the entirety of the wipe, and by the end of wipe, it is going to be the same lab crafted gold pieces that you saw on week 2 that are still in PvP rotation on month 3 or 4, which is I think unhealthy. I mean, I want to hear what you guys would like to think. So, like, if you want insurance, you have to have durability. Or
depends on how they do the insurance, right? I mean, maybe maybe it's only a certain quality, like an item quality and below.
That's what I suggested. Is like if we keep it to a tier of gear.
Oh, you can't insure craftable gear. I think that's fine too. Or rare.
Yeah, so Timmy's like blue shorts are coming back to him because literally nobody's gonna loot Timmy's blue shorts, and nobody benefits. Like
I've seen some good blue shorts.
I mean, it depends, but we're talking about Timmy's blue shorts. These are some resourcefulness 5 armored dog shit.
Oh, dude, but sometimes a Timmy loots something, they don't understand how good it is. They're like, it's like 5 move speed and percent. It's not even strength.
He's like, what's going on there?
You make a good point. You make a good point. I just mean that to Timmy, it might mean the world for him to get those blue shorts tomorrow. You know, that might be motivation for him to keep playing the game. Whereas, like, nobody in the match that he was within, like, nobody's like losing because he got his shorts back. You know what I mean?
The counterpoint to that is that if we're on a more even playing field and play, like, there's the quest progression is locking people in so that there's not just teams stat checking the entire lobby and steamrolling and running through ruins in 4 seconds and killing everybody, then you're more likely to take every bit of loot with you because of potentially what we're speculating the expressman does, which is be able to send items out of the dungeon. So either buying stuff or being able to send stuff out. I think that this will create a problem where there's just going to be too much gear. Everybody's going to have too much of everything, which I loved Hotfix 15, where every chest was full of 900 items in gold, and it felt like we were playing an event patch. But at the same time, most of the gear was bad, so people weren't taking it. But if the gear stays like it is now, where there's a lot of actually pretty good gear, and everybody just gets to keep it all the time, yes, we have more people at an average gear level, so there's more even playing fields at the start. But if we don't put a limit on that, we're going to have people getting ahead even faster than they were before, and the disparity is going to be even bigger. It's going to be harder to retain players. So I think they need to pay very careful attention to how they use these systems.
I don't think it's a problem if you have like a fast and easy influx of gear, if you also have a fast and like brutal outflux of gear as well, like with the durability system, or like usually in previous playtests at least, like a lot of gear just got lost to the abyss. That doesn't really happen anymore because the rogues, Let's be honest, the ruined janitors, they pick the bones dry every raid. So
They're you and your Norkers, dude. Okay,
Janitors.
dude, the gear stays in rotation much longer than it did previously. I remember last season or the season previous, like there would just be full bodies of gear, good gear that just are lost to swarm every game. And I honestly, it's probably a map issue, right? Because on Crypts, like you kill somebody in like a weird corner, nobody knows where that body is. On Ruined, it's like easy to just do a lap around Ruins and like, oh, body there, oh, body there, oh, look, there's a gold body there. It's just so easy to find bodies on Ruins. So maybe it's a map issue. Maybe I'm rambling, but
No, you're not rambling. It's the same with the swarm. Like now that the swarm doesn't do that much damage and it's all healable, then everybody can just live inside the swarm with some potions. So I agree with you. I think there's way less gear leaving rotation than we've ever had before. And again, I don't know if that's a bad thing because like maybe that means the marketplace is only there for like really rare gear instead of it being for everything right now and for everyone to make a ton of money. Like you really only sell like actual bis on the marketplace, and everything else is just found in raid or like shipped out via expressman or returned via insurance. So maybe like it could be good because the less time you spend in marketplace, also possibly the better. And then it makes you really think about what you need to be picking up. You don't just pick up like anything with move speed because nothing's really selling since everybody has sets.
I love the marketplace.
Yeah,
Maybe
same.
items should only be able to be insured so many times.
Oh, you
That
can only
too.
insure something that's looted.
Or yeah, only insurance.
That would
maybe
be
perhaps.
interesting. Yeah.
So one-time insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Not bad, dude.
Mm.
There's something they could do. I was just like going off the basis of like the Tarkov system. That's like the insurance system that I know.
For sure.
Right, and Tarkov, like insane sets are just lost.
Well, insurance works in Tarkov,
and yeah, it works really good
because there's fucking gear churn, like a lot of it, a ton of it, and the durability. Gear gets deleted in that game, usually by hackers, but yeah, it's besides the point.
Yeah.
All right, so we have covered a decent amount of that stuff. How do we feel about? We know Druid is supposed to be coming with this next patch. We've heard that many times before. We're not even going to talk about that because we've already talked a little bit about it. Ice Abyss, the layer 2 of the Ice Caverns, very exciting. They're working on the boss Frost Wyvern, which is supposed to be the hardest boss they've developed so far. And it makes me wonder if they plan to test anything new as far as like party composition or party size with this. They haven't mentioned anything about increasing party size, and I don't think 5 players would work for a party size on Ice Caverns. But if this boss is truly supposed to be the hardest boss they've made so far,
how cool would that be though? Just 5 play, dude. Oh man,
it would be cool. And we've talked about the raids, the like potential raids before, but they haven't said anything about doing that yet. And I feel like they would have already kind of teased that because that would be a really big draw for people to come back to the game if they were saying like, hey, we might try a 5-player system in the Ice Caverns. I mean,
crazy.
Boss Frost Wyvern being harder than Warlord, which mechanically I think people have kind of adapted to him, but he's still ridiculous because of the damage and how much health his minions have. How is anybody going to kill this thing if it's going to be harder than Warlord? I'm excited about it, but at the same time,
well, simple. You just find a spot and cheese it like you do everything else.
Put a couple Pavises down. I actually just walk into it and get stuck, so you just kill it after that, obviously.
Well, do you know something we don't know? Have you been on that private test server? What's going on
I've
here?
been on I've been up there a little bit.
She's trying to get the Pavise in the meta
block.
first.
Oh yeah.
You just have to shield bash right when he breathes
like
frost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, you parrying the frost breath? Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
What if Dragon Breath makes like Pavise meta because it's the only way to stop it? Wait a minute.
Be sick.
Holy crap.
We're talking about
Stack them up now. Don't sell them.
Or Lanthe's coming back.
SDF can't stop buffing the shield bash skill. It's only a matter of time until the Pavise shield bash meta actually enters the mainstream.
Let's just make the damage scale off of like the shield's armor.
I think it needs more slow. It does scale, by the way. I don't know if it scales off the armor though, but I like that idea.
I don't think it's affected by true fizz. I think it's base. There's a base damage on the skill itself, and then I think your physical power bonus is the only thing that affects it.
I've gotten to doing 61 physical on headshots, but like you're never headshot. Yeah.
Yeah, because its base is 25, right?
I mean, you could. I think maybe Victory Strike works with it too. I think it does. But I haven't fully tested that. I used it on someone. It seemed to do good. I don't know. He's second winded, so the results were inconclusive.
How could you even be mad dying to Pavise Shield Strike?
Yeah, when they knock you off the map, you can be mad.
I'm out there tryharding in BIS with that Pavis, I'll have you know, and dying repeatedly.
For the greater good.
For the greater good.
Yep.
This might be a hot take, but I don't think you can make a boss harder than Warlord. Warlord's a motherfucker. All right, you can't kill him in solos. You like can barely kill him in duos unless you're god tier. And like I don't know, like maybe the solos have figured it out, but I'm pretty sure like 1% or less of the population has beat Warlord still.
I would venture to say less than 1% of the population has killed him.
I mean, I definitely struggle with him.
I don't know what could be harder than that. It's been 3 months.
So my statement earlier about increasing the complexity of the game also goes towards the PvE, where I feel like you can make a harder boss than Warlord if you're willing to add more mechanical complexity to the game, or just give people more skills that do more impactful things, like giving a dash, or something that can interrupt the boss. I mean, like the fighter is the class that I always think about for an advocate for adding more skills, because imagine if you had the ability to use perfect block and taunt and breakthrough without having to give up the 2 mandatory core skills of your class, which are second wind and shield, sprint and second wind. That would make the class infinitely more interesting, giving it more options and more ways to play the game, or counterplay to certain situations that are presented to them. And that would also give them much more utility in PvE. Is adding more skills good for PvE? How much? We've already said that maybe that would overload things for PvP, but
more buttons, more better, dude. I want more buttons pressed. Like I said, I play Wizard because I like all the buttons, but like I do play Fighter too sometimes, and the reality is, it's kind of boring. Like you said, you have sprint and second wind, and if you're feeling crazy, you might take a taunt or something. If you're really
that's about it.
Yeah, it's
throwables.
just, and like there's skill expression with longsword and like blocking with shields and stuff, but I do wish a lot of these classes, especially the melee classes, just had more buttons. I think more skills are a route you could go. I think maybe an ultimate ability. I don't know, with like a long cooldown. For instance, like Divine Protection, that feels like an ultimate ability. A long cooldown, powerful effect. Like it felt very bad taking it as one of your 2 abilities, but it feels like decent if it was like an ultimate ability, because a long cooldown and stuff. But
I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest.
I think Ice Wyvern or Frost Wyvern is going to be the test for the limit of Dark and Darker's current systems. If they're truly making it harder than Warlord and expecting people to defeat it in a party of 3, I think it's going to push the limits of the systems of the game that we currently play.
I do want to say, like, just because Iron Mace says it's going to be harder than Warlord, Iron Mace also thinks Ghost King is harder than Warlord, so we really can't take them
true, dude. True. Wait, true.
It was just Grayson, and he's a troll, dude. 100%.
No, he was being serious. He said Warlord is easy if you have clerics with a round shield. Fucking quote.
With a round shield? Does he know something I don't? What's going on? Why a round shield?
He knows how to trigger everybody. That's what he knows.
I mean, it would be a bigger block radius than Buckler, and it's not like you're interrupting Warlord's combo, so maybe. But still, ain't nothing easier
because
than...
you don't interrupt the combo, it doesn't spawn the... Is that what's going on? It doesn't spawn.
No, I mean, either way, you're not interrupting the combo. So, like, if having a bigger shield means you have a higher chance to block, which means you're not getting one shot. So, like,
why not a heater?
Just a Buckler.
I don't know. Probably both.
Yeah, the round shield tilt that just tilts me.
I know.
That's how I know he's trolling.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Round shield? What?
Listen, Ghost King's not harder than any boss. All right, like that's definitely making shit up. Ghost King's easy mode.
Ghost King is easy mode, but god damn it, is he annoying?
Yeah.
Grayson has died to jump one too many times, but he's like, this fucking Ghost King sucks, dude.
RNG on Ghost King goes nuts. His AI is terrible. All right, we were told that duos might be going away, so that solo and trio could be available on all maps permanently. And then that was walked back after everything was on fire for about 24 hours. We didn't get confirmation that it's being walked back. It's more so that STF was just kind of like, okay, all right, we heard you guys. We'll think about it. We'll debate. I know a lot of people who'd be upset if duos left. I would not be happy for them to leave. I would prefer solos to go away, but I know there's more people that play solos than that play duos. At least I think there is.
In trios.
They probably have the data on
so
that.
I've always had this like hot take about solos and duos, right? I'm like, if you got rid of one of them, right, you just get rid of solos, right? And all those solo players, you just go solo queue into duos, and it's basically like solo queue because everybody's teaming in solo queue anyway. So what's the actual difference, right?
All right, reverse hot take. You get rid of trios because it's the lowest percentage of the player base playing it, and all the bosses are theoretically duoable. And now you have way more teams out in both solos and duos. Every match is full. Everything's just going smooth. Like you don't have these like trio death-plated gold squads fucking seal clubbing neophytes and smurfing. You just have ones and twos everywhere. Way more third parties, more gear churn. Fuck trios.
Or we don't get rid of any of them and we just focus on getting this game ready to go on Steam so we have enough people to fill all of those queues.
All right, that's a good middle ground.
Well, let's get rid of all of them, right? And just have arena.
Yeah, we have a better queue too. Yeah,
It's an arena game
right.
now.
Arena's going to be interesting when they bring that in.
Let's dive into that.
I think they were moving duos.
Sweat Lord Quarantine Zone.
Yeah.
Sweat, I love that. I love that. Sweat Lord Quarantine Zone. You gotta get like a little splash art for your stream that just covers the arena tab with that. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think removing duos was not to help the population of the maps, but because they were also planning on releasing arenas, and that was going to take away too many people from the dungeons. Because I think
I love that we have queue problems. They're like, all right, another queue. Mad arenas now, guys. We're getting duo, solo, and trio arenas, or what's going on there?
Oh God, I hope not. Can you imagine solo arenas? That would be so toxic.
That'd be sweet.
You'd just be people trying to counter build each other for every round. It'd be so obnoxious.
It would be nice to just get those reps in though, just like get in combat reps as much as you want.
Look, some variety of classes and gear
you
sets.
You want World of Warcraft duels, and you're not wrong for that, but there's a different place for that, and that is one other thing I wanted to talk about. But let's talk about Arena first. Arena is very exciting, and I think Arena is both Frost Wyvern and Arena are going to serve as a way to condense the game down to its most try-hard state, and we're going to be able to actually see. Again, I think these are both places where we're going to see whether or not the game is. If the design holds up, if there needs to be more done with it. I'm really excited about Arena and I can't wait to play it. Are you guys excited about Arena? I already know. I mean, Nate, you don't have to answer. I already know the answer to that question. But Katie, so bad.
I'm a little worried it'll artificially raise the skill ceiling. I'm worried about that, but I think it could be fun. I hope it doesn't have the Rust UKN, training aim effect where like suddenly the player base starts lifting and now everybody's, they've played every single matchup through like quick fire succession, 1v1s or whatever. And so now they're like sort of a raising of the skill level. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
The general,
it's gonna happen, I think.
The general level of skill. Yeah. I mean, I think it will. I think that's unavoidable if you add a strictly PvP area.
Yeah. I don't know if that's very good for casual players. And then it all comes back to the skill expression. Like, do they add more skill expression? Because if they add more skill expression, they add arena, and then they let people practice that for free without having to invest in time or resources around the equipment, then it's like, we're going to run into that where people are like, what do you mean? You expect to be good at the game? You put your 2,000 hours of arena in, right? Like you've played you've done your time, right? You shouldn't expect to be good at the dungeon crawling portion of the game until you've done enough arena. Is what I'm worried we'll go towards.
Yep. I'm hopeful that maybe in the back of their minds, this is just an alpha test, limited time mode for future tournaments that they're going to hold. That they're going to put the arena out for us for one wipe to play around with, then release to Steam, remove the arenas, make the original game the primary game, but on a periodic basis, when they decide to hold the tournaments, they're going to hold the tournaments in the arena and get everybody hyped about the arena coming back, or make it a limited time mode for the whole player base. Either one of those things would be great. Because, that's my primary concern, too, is that the queues will be impacted greatly, and exactly what Katie said, that you're going to get a huge gap very, very quickly in skill between the casual player who just wants to play the game versus the people that are going to get on there every day and just become PvP sweat lords.
And it's not like we have, the player numbers, right, are low. So it's not like you're gonna hop into an arena queue and like meet, a bunch of different people. It's hundreds of new players. It's gonna
Yeah.
be the same 50 people
Right.
gruelingly sweating against each other, refining themselves to an unreal level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a tough sell for me.
So I do like the idea of it being a limited time thing. I kind of like
They can
want
take it
to.
away.
Well, I kind of want to like reference League of Legends. I hate
That
giving
was
League of
really funny.
Legends compliments.
I was about to talk about League.
Well, there's a game mode called Ultra Rapid Fire in League of Legends, and it is a very loved game mode. But they release it like for a few weeks every couple of months. It's like very limitedly sparsed in, and I feel like if you had Ultra Rapid Fire in League of Legends, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it would get boring and stale, and it wouldn't be the same. And like that's like a good example of them just giving you a small dose every now and then for like fun variants.
So like at the
That
end of
is
the wipe,
cool.
they like open the arena. Like that'd be sick.
Or you can
I'm
do like
kind of
you can do like the weekend arena event or like every
Yeah, every
month
weekend.
or whatever time you want. Something just to keep things fresh.
I like that idea. If it's not open 24/7, I'd be
Mm.
much more for the idea personally.
My one counterpoint to concerns over making the game casual unfriendly is that I think this game is already kind of difficult to approach for casuals, and that's been stated a number of times. And I think you have to be a certain type of player to enjoy this game. Now, that's not to say it's as unapproachable as other games. I think Tarkov is way less approachable than Dark and Darker is. So I
don't know. You really think so?
Yeah, I think Tarkov. I mean, if you die in Tarkov, you can't even recover your full health.
All your gear comes back to you though.
If you don't have a Sherpa guiding you through Tarkov, you're a lost puppy.
That's fair.
I would
yeah,
agree
that's
with
fair,
that. Yeah.
for sure. You're
You
definitely
also
lost
die
puppy
in the
pretty
first like
times.
40 seconds of the raid in Tarkov
But
all the
it-
time.
Yeah,
That happens.
okay.
That happens
I guess
in
I
Dark
just
that
and
happens
Darker.
in Dark and Darker too.
There's just so many mechanics that kind of hold they make it a little easier for you in that game, I guess. But I get what you're saying though, Odin. That makes sense.
Well, the where I was going with this ultimately is that there are League of Legends is actually a very good example, because if you play ranked in League of Legends, there are, I mean, the majority of the player base is gold and below, and a large portion of that sits around bronze and silver, and those are very bad players that are playing against each other all the time. And the game has an insane amount of knowledge that you have to have if you want to improve at the game. You're expected to practice a lot. And that's only one example. Counter-Strike is another example I would use. It's a very hardcore game with a really high skill ceiling and even a pretty high skill floor, I would say. But it's still one of the most popular games out there as far as competitive PvP games go. So I don't necessarily think that having a system where people can improve against each other is a bad thing, but taking into account the fact that our player base is so small, I do think it would be harmful for Arena to have too much emphasis, because I do think it's going to create that, like, the problem that we have in the game right now where the rich get richer, the good get gooder. I think that'll be kind of toxic.
Free time goes burr.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that, and I think having Arena be a limited time, like something that maybe it's only available for a couple hours a day, or maybe it's only available 1 or 2 days a week. Maybe it's only on the weekends, whatever.
And to talk on like the population and the arena thing, like a good way to get population in this game would be just some Twitch rivals arena tournaments on streamed. Like that would get so many eyes on the game, and you would not like solve those population issues, but it would definitely help a lot, right? People love tournaments. People like competitive games. People like arenas. People love Twitch rival events. I feel like you could just get a Twitch rival 64-man arena tournament bracket Friday to Sunday. It would be with drops. Like we're back. We are back. We're
I
back.
like that. I like that a lot.
We need to do that for like a Steam release, though. I think doing it right now isn't serving it.
Oh, I'm not saying now, but
yeah. But I agree with you. I think limited time events for the arena are really good. My other thought is that if we get an AP track for normals, an AP track for HR, and then we have arena, whether or not arena has an AP track, now we have like all of these queues, and like we're already trying to, like Katie said, like how many more queues do we need? Because it's going to draw players away from certain aspects.
Yeah.
And so I think it has to be limited.
I mean, they're gonna change it
Has
on
to
the
be, like,
next patch, the
weekend.
queues. But I mean, what they're gonna change it to, I have no idea.
People already complain that there's dead lobbies. That's a more trending thread as we get closer to the end of the wipe, as more and more people stop playing. But I do think that if the content that comes with the wipe patch is good enough, and the performance of the game feels good, and they've addressed like some of the more egregious concerns, like no portals in Goblin Caves and stuff like that. I do think, obviously, with a wipe always comes a surge of player base. I think we'll have a much healthier player base, and a lot of the problems that we talk about have to do with the limited player base. And if we were at 100K, most of the stuff wouldn't even come up in discussion.
Right.
But we do have to be reasonable and take into account where the game is right now in its player base. And right now it's not great.
Well, Josh just casually mentioned before we move on, Owen. What Odin?
Odin.
Yeah, Owen.
Wow.
You're Odin the Owen. Josh just casually mentioned that normals are going to get AP. How do you guys feel about that?
I like it. I like normals.
That's good.
I like it.
A lot of people probably play normals. I bet, they're not going to do something for like low pop, I feel like. So there's got to be some significant portion of the population just not engaging with the AP system at all. So by copy and pasting it and using it in normals and adding different rewards for it, I think it just makes sense.
Actually, I like that you mentioned the rewards, because I think if we're going to add arena and we're going to have more competitive areas of the game, because if you look at the discussion around AP, people are like, well, it's the Care Bear thing. Everybody just grinds it solo, nobody kills each other, everybody's getting demigod by being friendly. People get upset about that because it's supposed to be a PvP game. But if we take how the AP system works, it actually works really well, because what the AP system does is it determines how good you are, or it's a way to determine how good you are as a player in PvE. How little gear can you take in with you? How little supplies can you take in with you? How much are you comfortable leaving behind? What's your map knowledge like? How good are you at killing the PvE mobs? How consistently can you get out without dying to PvE? Like, the AP system does a really good job of measuring that. So players will, if I remember correctly, Iron Mace talked about how they wanted it to be this like PvE progression system, so that players would have this feeling of like progression, getting to see themselves get better at PvE, and adding that to normal and having a way for players to get the demigod rewards in a lower stakes environment where they can really be casual players of the game and still feel like their time is being rewarded. I think it's a great thing. It's 100% a step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Totally agree. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's not for me, but like, good. I'm happy it's there, type of thing.
Well, the way I thought about it was there would be a separate track, and so then it would give us all something else to do as well. Because right now, unlike Tarkov, where like the best players in the world in Tarkov, they spend weeks getting to like the absolute end game, and we can all get demigod in like a day. And so after that, it's kind of like, at least for next wipe, if we're thinking the wipe's going to be 3 months, a lot of people, as you mentioned, are better at PvE. They're better at grinding. They kind of figured out what to grab, like the little baubles and the bits. And so people are going to be able to get demigod next season significantly quicker. And so I think if you do an AP reward track for HR, and then you have lesser rewards for normal, it gets the normal players comfortable with the AP chase. And they're like, oh, I can get like, a black cloak if I get demigod of norms. And then maybe after that, I'll want to go for like the rainbow cloak that HR offers or whatever. And so there'll be similar rewards, just like toned down. So instead of like, HR Wanderer, you get, I don't know, 500 gold, then Norm's Wanderer, you get like 150 gold, whatever it is. And then it gives everybody like, now we can have cross progression. You have a lot of HR players who like just want to chill. And so then they just go Norms and they do like AP grinding in Norms. And then you could have the same thing for Arena. You could have like a little AP track or whatever. So I think it's important to reward that stuff. Even like World of Warcraft, there's like Arena cosmetics. And then when you see people in your game and you're like, oh, last season you got demigod in Arena, like that's sweet. You have like a crown or whatever Dark and Dark is going to offer, but it just gives you something else to strive for. Not like a daily quest, but like things to do to keep you on track. And I think that's good outside of just dungeon grinding.
No, I agree. That's actually a really good point. I like the idea of normals having its own track to get players excited to go to HR. I do think it's a good idea to funnel them that way.
And it would like train them and get them ready for HR. They would get the right play patterns, and then when they go into HR, they don't feel lost, like they're a fish out of water type of thing. So yeah, actually, the more I think about it, the more I like it. So when they first said, I was like, ugh, lame. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of good points. Good job, so bad. You convinced me.
Hopefully Iron Mace is listening. If not, hit him with the feedback. Hit him with this clip.
Odin, where did you want to take us next?
Let me pull up the chat because I was just looking at the last message. Oh, so before we move on to whatever else we have, I think we're probably getting close to ready to wrap up here.
Some patch notes we didn't go through.
Yeah, we've got patch notes. But the last thing that SDF brought up on his great list of things he put in general chat but didn't post anywhere officially and left everybody in the dark on was that they are considering removing region select to address teaming and cheating. And I think this is, obviously targeted at a certain specific region. People are concerned with, well, how am I going to play with my friends? I think what will probably end up happening is if you are in a lobby with, if you're a US West player, if you're in California and you queue up with somebody in Texas, it'll probably put you on the server that works best for both of you. That's my guess. So some people were like, oh, if they remove queue selection, how am I going to play with, my EU friends? Well, if, you want to play with EU friends, maybe it'll put you guys on US East because that's the server that's going to work best. Or maybe it'll move you to EU, but it's not going to tell you. And that helps to eliminate the ability for people from unnamed region to connect to others' regions and abuse them. And it also helps prevent stream sniping in some ways because nobody knows where anybody is as far as the servers are concerned. So it's much harder to track each other. I understand people's concern about this change. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And if they at least handle it well, which they don't have the best track record of handling server related issues, it probably won't matter. I don't think it'll have much impact.
I think it could be absolutely game breaking. Playing a caster class solos, I got like 20 to 10 ping on West. That's very playable. If I go to East, I feel it. I'm like 80, 90. That's bad. I can't be equipping BIS and then getting stuck on an East server. That's just game breaking. I can't play that's unplayable. I could not, that'd be horrible. I need that low ping.
I'm East. I play East. I play West. I play EU. I play Brazil, and I feel it. I do.
I feel most of Brazil.
I can play EU fine. I'm East Coast. I can play West fine, and I'm East Coast. Japan servers kind of fucked me up a little bit, but I'll still go there, just on fighter. But yeah,
it's a different experience for everybody, though.
I mean, just being locked into a higher ping environment against that would be really tough. I'd really hate that.
Well, it's definitely worse on caster classes.
It should choose like the closest region for you. You just want to go to hot swap.
Maybe if you could pick like a home region, you were like, or maybe like a prioritized low ping match. Like, don't I give me extra. I don't mind waiting. You know what I mean? Just put me in a match that's near me.
That's what I expect them to do. That's what I would hope that they would do, and that seems to be the common sense thing to do. I think the thing that people are concerned about is that Iron Mace doesn't always do the common sense thing when it comes to servers, because it's happened a number of times, but that isn't really a design problem with removing select. That's how they handle it. But I agree, they definitely need to make sure that they handle it right, because if they don't, it's going to suck for a lot of people, especially if you get matched on the wrong server and you don't know about it firsthand. You just get in the game, it's like super laggy. That is
like, what server am I on? I can't even see my ping.
Yeah, don't even know the ping. Yeah, no clue where you are, how you ended up in this place. Terrible.
Yeah, that shit sounds kind of miserable when I think about it. If I knew if I was on a bad server, like, I could adjust, but going in and not having any way to see what your ping is,
just gambling it, being like, all right, I'm gonna play Wizard. Hope I don't get put on an East server.
Yeah. I don't know.
They need a report server option as well. Like a lot of games have adapted now, where if the server is really laggy, you can.
It definitely seems like they want to like crack down on the teaming and the cheating and stuff. It's a very hard problem to solve. I don't know what the answer is. I don't think that's the answer. Yeah, I think it's queue time. That's it. I don't mind waiting for a full lobby. I'd rather wait a long time for a full lobby than go into a half full lobby and then just fucking be pissed that I'm in there.
I would say the same thing if it wasn't for the inspecting. You know what I mean? Like the scouting, like if it was like if I could sit on the main menu and like
trade, on the main menu and fuck around with your stash. Oh, my game starts. Join like every other fucking video game on the planet.
Could you imagine if you could
So
actually manage your marketplace stuff while waiting for a game, and then you just
Oh,
jump
yeah.
into a game with people? I mean,
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm wow.
Dude, what
I
a
have
foreign
something-
concept.
I have
Wow.
something very interesting to talk about, and Josh knows what I'm talking about because he messaged me about this the other day. There's a game that Josh and I both used to play called Naraka Blade Point. That it's a medieval Chinese feudal melee combat battle royale. It's got a new lobby system. I don't know when they implemented it because I wasn't playing at the time, but when I went back to play it, it has this new lobby system where when you're at the homepage, you have access to all of your usual character stash stuff, all that stuff, or like cosmetics. But everyone is also in everyone is in like the sharded open world area where you can run around, you can like do parkour speed puzzles, there's like races, there's instruments that you can play, people can VoIP. It's like this hangout hub spot, and you can queue for matches while you're in there, but people queuing for matches that are in there do not necessarily get into each other's matches. They queue into different lobbies, but it's just like this social space. And I would love if Dark and Darker just straight up stole that completely. Put all the merchants in there, give us a physical space to hang out. There's tons of people that are like, oh, I want the pregame lobby VoIP back. This game used to have all this fun interaction. We used to get to talk to each other, and now it's all everybody's just quiet and teaming, and nobody fights or everybody kills each other. I think if you add a system like that, where there's a social environment for people to hang out, show off their cool gear, but you're not at risk of being inspected or having stream snipers come and find your game, it fixes like everything. I can't see a downside to having a system like that.
I like that a lot.
That's a complex system, and I think we should aim for that. But since we're also heading toward having our own hideouts, which they've indicated to be like a room in the inn that you make your own, and you can put up like your cosmetic trophies from between seasons and whatnot. It would also be cool if we could just go to our fucking room and then queue, and then you're just like waiting in your room. You can like look at your trophies and like look at like
that could be the main menu
stash. Yeah, like whatever it is, just put us somewhere else and let us queue. Even if it's like Tarkov, right? Doesn't Tarkov have like I click like ice caves start, and then it's just like a countdown, and it could take up to like 30 minutes for all you know. But like anything, I just think people don't want the inspecting thing has got to come to an end. Running each other's pockets and like just running around like a little shit spot with the training dummy. There's so much they can do with that, and I think they've told us that
it would be so much better for teamers too if they had no clue if they were in the same game until they ran to the same spot. I mean, my God, that'd be such an improvement.
So I think we're gonna get there. Like initially they said they liked how it was, but I think like most things, the community is driving the direction of the game with developer oversight, and so I'm sure eventually we'll get to not having the inspect system. Hopefully.
Yeah, I hate that SDF was like Terry and SDF. I think it was on the One Peg interview. Were like hammering on about how they really wanted to keep this inspecting thing so that it felt more like an adventure where you're at the tavern. But it's like, okay, so you still want people to be able to invis and hide from each other and not be able to be inspected, and you still want the team that joins last to not be able to see anybody else in the lobby because they just instantly load in the match.
So like also like in like traditional Dungeons and Dragons, like when you're in a tavern and like you're with other adventurers, are you actually able to go up to them and just like put their shirt under a microscope? Like, oh, this has 17 strength on it.
Let me see what kind of keys you got.
Yeah. You get the,
looking at
them you can get a rough idea from a distance, not be able to dissect their exact fucking build.
Is that Merlin's cottons?
Yeah.
Or like 5% polyester, huh?
I know that exact key you have. I know. Interesting.
That goes
like Odin said, you get anybody who's queuing into a lobby. So now you just have like a bunch. You've got like a 3-man in the corner that's going to like the new ice caves or ice mountain, and they're all like drinking together, and then you've got like a solo just sitting by like a rogue in the corner, like fucking drinking his tanker, just getting ready to go murder in Goblin Cave. Like,
it could just be the tavern. Like, so you could just be hanging out in the tavern. Like, you can add a couple chessboards, some checkers, you
have to make it bigger,
a vendor or two. You can make it a little bigger, but like the rough idea is there. Like they probably wouldn't have to do that much, and then you just queue from there.
Okay, you spawn in at the tavern when you open up the game. And you can walk out the front of the tavern. You can hang out in the tavern, and like maybe you can access your queues while you're in the tavern. You can walk out the front door, and there's like just a circle of shops around where you can go visit a physical like blacksmith, alchemist, all this stuff.
That's what the crap are.
Yeah, like
like that.
Obviously,
opt-in, right? Like you,
if you push tab, it just pulls up all the
right, exactly. Because
that
some
way if
people
you don't want to
would,
move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
some people will be like, I don't care about all this cool
Mhm.
3D world space stuff. Just give me the HUD where I can find everything in one place.
Yeah.
But putting an option there, just anything that increases the social and like the ability for people to gather in the game and sort of like just feel like it's more of a world. Because this, I will say, the one thing that's getting very tiring about this game is that everything is just this plain text menu. It's very. This might just be a me problem, but it's starting to feel very devoid of life. It's like I do wish there was more to it.
I'm with you on that. A guild hall would be nice too.
Yeah.
And the same
Well,
cross
Guild
thing.
Hall is something I've been
That's
asking for
coming.
forever.
That's
Sick.
coming.
Maybe change your default. So you spawn at your
He's
guild hall
coming
and stuff.
next week, dude, with Druid and Ice Abyss.
And
You're
dude.
here
Steam
for it.
launch
Oh,
and
boy.
console launch.
Steam launch. Oh man, I'm scared.
They're
I'm
not
Next
ready,
wipe.
dude. They're
It's
not
not
fucking
Not
ready.
this
think
wipe.
we're
Next
ready.
wipe. That's this year, boys.
I think it's.
Q-
I think it'll be.
Q3.
I think it'll be August.
Could be.
I think they'll do it on the 1 year anniversary of
Boom.
early access.
You
Q3
heard it here.
Steam. They do an exclusive with Xbox for the Xbox Pass, whatever it is. That way it's free for people to like test as well. Bada bing, bada boom.
All right, before we ramble on forever, let's get on to the patch notes and call this and wrap this thing up here. Unless anybody else has a topic that they want to bring up before we get on to these.
Just like the usual rogue suck, but now we're fine. Patch notes?
All right. Fixed an issue where the portal would not spawn around the final circle in the final phase of Goblin Caves. So that was a lie. That still is a problem.
They fixed that.
I've been hearing reports from people that it's still a problem. I personally don't play Goblin Caves, so
I've been in there all day. There's
I
always
haven't
one
had
at the
it be
end.
an issue.
Yeah.
okay, well maybe they fix it then. Fighter Sword Mastery increases movement speed by 10 instead of increasing impact resistance by 1. From a build standpoint, I can see where they're going with this, with doing Barricade, which now gives magic resistance, and Shield Mastery, which gives you 10% while you're blocking. It's like really allowing Fighter to build into being the frontline tank for their team, just walking at the enemy with a shield, soaking as much damage as possible. I kind of liked the idea of the impact resistance better, but it didn't do what I thought it was going to do, which is make attacks bounce like the buckler. But I think that probably would have been really broken with a heater shield, so fair enough.
But pretty underwhelming. At least when I first read it, I was like, wait, their fighters just getting 10 movement speed.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, I was like, that's
oh, never
fucking
mind.
broken.
Only
Yeah.
while blocking.
Yeah.
Barbarian receives Treacherous Lungs, which I thought was going to be Treacherous Lunge. I thought that was a typo, but actually no, it just increases the duration of their shouts. Apparently Barb's running at least a little bit of buff duration are now getting their shouts up to like 10 seconds with this, which is absurd because 10 seconds of rage and 10 seconds of Savage Roar.
I gotta start cooking. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Or 10 seconds of War Cry.
Negative 20% PDR. I'm so excited.
wait, what's the cooldown on rage though?
I think it's baseline. Was it 30, 25 or 30?
All right, dude, I'm gonna try to get like 100% uptime rage set. Wait a minute.
Because it goes in cooldown right when you use it, right? So the longer it's up for, the more
Cleric's Divine Barbarian Axe specialization. Weapon damage was increased from 3 to 5. This also came with a Francisca nerf. So for once, Iron Mace did the right thing by doing 1+1 and going, okay, Barbarian throwing axes are going to be broken if we don't nerf this. So I like the fact that they did make that change. It also weakens them for Fighter, and I think we all know Francisca's needed to be toned down. Cleric's Divine Protection, physical damage changed from 30% to 50%, and cooldown reduced from 90 to 45 seconds.
This is crazy.
I'm telling you guys, try this shit on a lightweight cleric in solos with Bind and Holy Strike. Try it. It's actually very strong, in my opinion.
Like all Divine Protection needed was a lower cooldown. Like it was already a strong ability. Like it was already probably arguably one of the strongest abilities in the game from a power level when it was active. It was just on a long cooldown, so like you wouldn't use it. But the fact that they just like half the cooldown and double the fizz reduction, like this is such an Iron Mace fucking move if I ever seen one. Where they just
Iron Mace classic.
Where they just fucking skyrocket to the moon.
This is an Iron Mace classic.
It's very good. I think it's too good. I would rather them lower the PDR and lower the cooldown even more. So it's like
Or lower the PDR, but increase the duration, because I think 4 seconds does make it hard for you to force an engagement, which is what I think that the tool is supposed to be for.
I don't know, guys. I feel like it'd be better if they just nerfed the base will on Wizard. I think that'd be a better solution.
Yeah, I think they should just nerf Wizard.
Yeah,
that's
nerf
honestly
Wizard.
good fucking point.
Speaking of Wizard got a buff in Ice Mastery, which apparently
they're gonna nerf it. They're gonna nerf it.
Yeah,
it's gotta be so good. I bet it's amazing.
It's
I haven't tried it though.
It's already very good, and it's one of those abilities that will only get better over time. There's only one ice spell in the game, and like they're going to add more, obviously.
Right.
And
Blizzard.
And
Blizzard.
Once they do, it basically turns all of your ice bolts into a bind.
Dude,
ridiculous.
I saw fucking so bad thinking about the Cryomancer and Dungeonborn when you said Blizzard is having some PTSD.
Well, but then also I think, what else does Wizard fucking need, dude? We're done with that class, right? You guys don't get any new spells and no new perks. All right, we got a lot of other classes to work on and a lot of current classes we could boost. Your time
I agree.
is
We
over.
do need more spells.
Magic Lock win.
Apparently,
it is strong though, especially with really high knowledge, right? Because you hit them with the ice bolt, they're frozen, and now you zap them or whatever, and like they're stuck in place for 0.5.
Yeah,
it's a long time. It's as good as bind.
I've always said
people are starting to realize knowledge is the kind of the way to go.
Hard CC is so dangerous in this game because the time to kill is so fast. Like you just can't have hard CC in a game where you could die in a second. That you just can't have it. Like unless you want to increase time to kill, then like maybe you could mess around with more stuns and stuff and snares and slows. But like crowd control is the strongest thing in this game. Like Earthquake is insane. Bind is very good. People sleep on it. Slow, Ice Bolt, now that snares, like these are all like the best abilities in the Achilles Strike. Like it's not hard CC, but you hit by an Achilles Strike, that's a death sentence. It's a death sentence.
It's hard CC, let's be honest.
Yeah. Like
also they nerfed Frannies, but they made Axe Mastery do more damage with axes. So like you're still hitting hard as fuck with a Franny. Like they don't feel good.
Yeah. Well, they did that like the kind of
there's a compensation.
They're trying to buff like Francesca,
Hatchet and
Horseman and
Horseman.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah. Which I don't know why they wouldn't just buff those weapons instead, but I guess it's opportunity cost for having to take the perk over something else, which I think right now it's like robust, Iron Will, and Potion Chugger are like 3 staples of the class. They're basically mandatory. And now Treacherous Lungs has become really, really strong, and people are kind of still sleeping on it, but people are slowly finding out that it's sort of busted to have so much uptime on shouts. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people are actually running Axe Mastery, but those Francescas definitely still hurt if they are. Let's see. So instead of going through these one by one, because it's going to take too long, I'll just go through them by class. So Wizard received the Ice Mastery. Apparently, by the way, that doesn't work if somebody's in the air when you hit them with the Ice Bolt, so you can't jump it to not get rooted and make yourself an easier target. Wizard Staff Mastery Magic Weapon damage increase was changed from 5 to 3, and Wizard's Ice Shield now has a 5-second cooldown before it can be activated again. Those were all good changes.
Both good.
But then they also nerfed the staff magic damage base, which then affected other classes, and they double dipped on something that had a scaling problem instead of a base damage problem.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna weigh in on this because people were very vocal about not liking the Staff Master Wizard Bonk build. Like they're dying to all the time. And like it's too strong. You gotta get rid of it. We're getting one shot by these fucking frail old men.
F is shit.
But I've always been of the mindset, and like I've been a bit of a hot take on this. I'm like, it's actually not good. At the end of the day, if a wizard is running at you and hitting you twice with a staff, it would always be better for him to stay away from you and to shoot you twice with fireball. Like, it is always worse for the wizard to run at you and hit you, but it is fun and something different. So a lot of us were doing it, me included. But it is like the non-optimal way to play wizard. It's a bit of a noob killer, in my opinion. I see someone sighing. Let's see.
The issue was that, especially if you take Instacast, you now have the class who was strongest at mid to long range, arguably the wizard with splash damage. He only has to hit you once, and then he just W keys you because he already knows he's already won the poke on a fucking splash damage, and no other class has a splash capability. So, like, sure, it's a noob killer, but not really. Like, they're going toe to toe with barbarians. That was definitely needed. We needed some kind of nerf there, and like it's still strong.
Maybe if
It's
that
just
barbarian wasn't sleeping on my frock, he thought he was hot
not.
stuff.
Shit.
Like I said,
Yeah, you could be
I'm
naked with
okay.
that staff. The gray staff is hitting for like 112.
I'm fine with nerfs, right? But like at the end of the day, if you are getting more wizards off of staff master and back onto 10 spell, you're going to lose to wizards more often. Like this is a nerf to staff master, but this is a hidden buff to wizard because now less people are using the worst build. That's been my mindset. Yeah,
less people are playing wizard, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. That being said, if you are going to nerf it, I think it's crazy that you nerf the weapon, right? You nerf staff master, you nerf the scaling, whatever it is, but staff, the magic staff is already arguably the worst weapon in the game by like a mile. And
it's not arguably, it is the worst weapon.
It is the worst. Now it is worser.
It's like tied with hatchet.
I don't know. It seems like not the correct. Sure, nerf staff master damage, that's fine, but then also to nerf the magic staff itself. Like, what if I just wanted to go cast with the staff? It's just pointless now. It's just you have one more damage than a book or something.
I think they need to give the staff we've talked about this before. They need to give staff like a cantrip that makes PvE better for classes like wizard,
like Dungeonborn. That game shit, but like they had cantrips.
It's something that gives them better PvE utility, without give you a reason to use the staff, because they're just going to keep nerfing it so that it's got the same stats as a spellbook. Then what the fuck is the point?
Well, now I think it's in a fine spot. Like it's stronger than spellbook, at least especially for PvE. I don't know. Is it in a good spot, Ken, or do you?
I would rather them nerf staff master more, but then keep magic staff strong or stronger, or because even where it was previously, it was still the worst weapon in the game. The problem was that you could double dip in scaling. You'd like 100% scaling from stat mastery, and then like you got your 0.5% scaling from ignite. So like you were just like double dipping in all of your magic power, all of your true magic damage. Like, that's like the problem. The problem isn't the magic staff. That's just like the means of distributing pain.
Definitely hurt a lot of niche builds. A lot of other classes suffer from that staff being nerfed.
It just sucks. Like Wizard finally had a second build that was like kind of good. It still wasn't the best version of Wizard, but like it was viable, and I was like, oh yeah, I get to like play some fucking Bong for a bit. Had a lot of fun. Instantly nerfed. And I
think people were mostly just upset that there was now a more fragile rogue that left an after image running at them and doing the same thing Rogue was doing before, which was 2-tabbing.
Yeah, it was kind of a solos issue too. They were just like, they were the strongest. They were like 1 and 2 shotting everybody.
I think I died twice to it, maybe.
Yeah,
I killed more than I died to. That's for sure.
It's just so easy to play around that. That's why I say like it's a noob killer, because like if you don't know what to do, it's like kind of gimmicky. They could like haste, ignite, and run up or two shot you. But like if you have headphones on and you could hear it coming, you know what they're doing. Like he casted ignite. Oh, he casted haste. Oh, I'm gonna guess that he's gonna cast invis next and run at me. All you have to do is just have a little bit of spacing.
I do think so bad.
And space bar and throwing weapons. I mean, that's it. It's over.
Yeah. I do think so bad had a valid point, which was that they do still have spells, and it's not like their spells are bad just because they're playing Bonk Wizard.
They have like a spell.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you're running 5 spell, you have Fireball and Zap, and that's it.
Like if you try to kite, they were just splashing you or zapping you. But then if you try to go to melee, like I don't know, I was winning at mid, and then I would go in, and they would just one bonk me, and I'm like, okay, well, like at what range do I get the win from? Like it was really weird, especially on Rogue.
They needed to make it. They needed to change the scaling to be more dependent on ignite to add the extra damage, so that when you're playing that mid range, because I do understand what you're talking about, where like if you're at the mid range and they are actually not just turn their brains off, cast buffs and run at you, then they can do damage to you, and then once you actually get into melee range to trade with them, you're low enough that they can kill you with an unbuffed staff.
They also have two offensive spells at max, so like it's actually very easy to just run them out of resources, like very easy.
That's the thing, is that like I think it was just more on the onus of the people playing against it, is like you have to play it very differently to how you would normally play against a wizard.
Because it's definitely beatable. Like I said, I think it probably wasn't even good. I wouldn't even call it good. It's fun. I had a good time playing it, but like I would not recommend it to somebody if they were trying to win on Wizard.
I understand why people were frustrated with it, but I think that goes back to our discussion of why is the TTK so fucked in this game.
Yeah, and that's actually like the stem of the issue, is like time to kill is too short on everything. So like something like that feels extra bad when you get bonked by it.
All right,
Yeah.
Bards, melodic protection, physical damage reduction changed from 15% to 30%.
What does that do?
I don't think I've ever seen a Bard use melodic protection.
Yeah, when you play songs, it gives you armor. And you don't have to
Oh.
complete the song or even play the song well. Just playing the song is good enough. You just spam right click and you get armor. So like if you were holding a flute, for example, and you started failing a song, you could get 30% like while somebody was shooting at you. At least that was my thoughts. Maybe on a cook. Or like
I
a
think
drum
that's right.
throwing build, maybe.
That's actually
know what I
really
mean?
strong if that's how that works. That's actually very strong.
I mean,
Because
you could din and maybe get them even if they like just come at
Exactly.
you. At least
Yeah.
you're gonna absorb
At
like part of
least,
the hit.
so you have more reach on the den, and the idea is that like if you're gonna throw the drums at them, right? As you're
Mhm.
approaching them to throw drums, if they're throwing stuff at you too, you can just spam right click every time they toss.
Is
to
it
make
only
yourself
while you're
max to
playing
them.
the song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
While
Okay.
the
Yeah.
bar's up.
I mean, that's still helpful for the way Bard regularly tries to play as well, which is run at you and shriek to kill you.
Yeah.
If they're trying to close the distance and
For
go for
sure.
the melee kill. I mean, they're
There's a
just
lot of
taking
times
less damage on the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually think that's a good change.
Kind of nice.
Bard's got a lot of good perks because they're not like 3 staple. Like they have 1 or 2 that are staple, and then you can kind of move a lot of stuff around based on what you're doing, which is nice. I just wish Bard got another skill. Like you can only run 10 spell, and it's been like that for a really long time.
Right.
I think Bard needs like a little something else, like some other build.
I mean, there's a lot of dead stuff in this game. Like, I mean, Warlock only just got a 3rd skill essentially, and they still have like Evil Eye can't be used. It's still disabled.
I know,
But
right?
they
Bring my
still
evil eye
have
back.
they still have the most build options in the game.
They got a
though. I
lot
think
of build
Warlock,
options.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Warlock has
Yeah.
tons and tons of options.
I mean, you could do that with a lot of other classes too. Like just the idea of us getting plate lock is really cool. Like it's this brand new build and it works well with like a lot of other things and it's interesting. And so you can do the same thing with Bard. You can have like a Bard lock and it's just whatever happens.
Bard
like
lock.
takes twice as long to play music. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, so bad. How would you expand on Bard? Well, just make it a Warlock. That's how we make it
I'm
better.
listening.
I don't know, like Arcane Trickster. Like give it like something. I don't know, like a Q where it can. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something,
So as Katie mentioned, the Din and Shrill both got their range increased by 100 units from 450 to 550. Nice changes. I don't know how much they matter. I don't play Bard
No, it
enough.
definitely matters.
It matters. It's like 20%.
Like you're not killing people with Din, right? But like Din is always good for getting rogues
Mhm.
out of stealth.
Reach.
And,
And invis pots out of stealth.
Mhm.
Just for seeing rogues.
And with the melodic protection, like now when they jump on you, you don't get one shot
True.
either. So like it's
True.
kind of nice.
I was just kind of
Yeah.
saying, like, if you're gonna take something like a perk like that, you just have to have multiple like synergies. So like using Din to find the rogues and then threatening them with the drums while using the drums to also have PDRs, like at least you're getting stonks out of it, You don't have to swap between the weapons, like you can do the music and do the PDR with that. I don't know. Maybe it could, maybe not. Could be
Blow
fun.
Corruption had its cooldown increased by 3 seconds. Not a very consequential change. Magic damage of all grades of staffs got reduced. We already talked about that. Damage of Francesca's recurves and longbows were reduced. I think it was 2 damage across the board on all grades on each of those weapons. I think I could be wrong on that. Somebody in chat, I'm sure, can correct me. But
Keep them from the bows, baby.
they still need to tone them down because they still scale exponentially with headshot damage and just do too much.
Yeah, so you also could make the headshot multiplier lower too. Like that's like another way to make a solution.
It's just
that's interesting.
The class is able to just punch you with 50 or 60 damage multiple times before you even have a chance to do anything about it.
On the low end.
Yeah, it's like, why? It's just why. And I understand that if you nerf it more, Ranger is going to be completely irrelevant in solos. But I think that just comes with them needing to build a separate way. I was trying something out that I found was actually really stupidly strong. And I haven't had time to invest more into it because I've been doing other things. But crossbow mastery with a hand crossbow and an arming sword with crippling shot. You shoot someone in the legs, they're basically immobile. They're moving at like 150 movement speed. It's absurd.
Really good.
And you can swap crossbow and then shoot them while they're slowed. I was doing this with another friend who was also doing it. I was playing with Zap, and we were both playing with hand crossbows. And this Bard was trying to get between. We were just playing monkey in the middle with him. He couldn't do anything. He was permanently slowed to 150 movement speed. It felt broken. I think Rangers could probably start going into more things where they're like peppering and they're meant to slow people down. I do understand that's really obnoxious to play against, but I think it could be more okay if they weren't also doing 30 to 40% of your life every time they hit you.
Are Rangers actually weak in solos? I don't play much solos, so like.
I think they're pretty weak. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're not very good.
At least
Now-
in Goblin Cave, they're still pretty strong in ruins, but
Everyone has shields. Like even warlocks have shields.
Yeah.
Like warlocks run them down. It's brutal.
Is it a situation where like when Barbarian got nerfed and they just weren't able to W key and kill everybody for free, so now they think they're weak, or like are they?
no, they're
There's
actually
just more
weak.
PDR.
There's
Like,
like
they buff
one ranger
PDR.
every like couple games, and
Yeah,
then
they're-
usually
Yeah.
they just sit somewhere with like a couple traps, and if you have a lantern, like you just like made them irrelevant.
If a ranger meets PDR or meets somebody with a heater shield, it's over. You know, run or die. Like, you're not going to kill them.
They can still just run away forever, though. That is one thing that they can
Yes.
do. So if you run into a ranger, they have to choose to die.
True.
But
Yeah,
as
you're
far
not
as
wrong.
actually fighting people and like contesting rooms and staying in those modules, they're not very good right now.
Like on Ice Map, that's definitely true. Like they can always have sort of that agency to live, but like on Goblin Caves, sometimes you're gonna push me or you're gonna die to Swarm, you're gonna die to Portal, you're not gonna get something.
Right,
Like,
right,
I've
true.
definitely denied certain Rangers from just playing the game. Like obviously I'm memeing with Pavies, but like they actually can't do anything.
Yeah, I played a game with Katie actually like a week ago or whatever, where I was on Slayer Fighter. I was move speed capped. I was 350 move speed with my weapon out. Like it was just a pure move speed kit,
Oh yeah.
and I just W keyed at this ranger for like 30 seconds, and I just couldn't catch him. I just had 350, the maximum move speed I could ever have, and this guy was
catch him.
a more. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I hate Rangers. I fucking
He
hate them.
wasn't even that
Yeah.
good. It was like,
I hate
I
Rangers.
don't know. It's like everybody. If you really build move speed and you build add damage, like even on a ranger with a serbo, I mean, they're spitting 4 arrows in a lot of classes that aren't specifically PDR. Like it's gonna tank you. They just have to land hits. But like again, Goblin Cave is like all narrow hallways, corridors, stealth, and Vispod players. Like it's pretty brutal in there.
yeah, this like probably a map issue too. Like because on ruins they can just run wherever they want.
Well, they're the
infinitely.
gods of ruins.
Yeah,
and they
just
are
jump
really
over
good on ice
everything.
caves.
Yeah.
But they're I think they're fucking utter garbage on Goblin Caves.
fair as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
As one does.
I hate Rangers.
Welcome.
I wish only bad things happen to Rangers.
Yeah, should we go to a Q&A or is there a couple more patch notes?
There's a few more, but nothing really of
Yeah,
consequence.
we
unless-
can touch on the flashy things while we do that. Chat, start cooking up some questions. type of
Yeah,
thing.
get some questions in that you want to answer, and I'll just go over these quickly because none of them are really needed discussion. Windlass had its slow duration and strength nerfed a little bit. They made a very, very, very nice quality of life change where gold it goes right to your pouches now. You don't have to
Oh yeah.
interact with it
Yeah.
at all.
Oh,
Really good.
huge.
Even from collector.
Huge.
Crazy. Just
Yeah.
how amazing how good
Mhm.
it feels. Like just not having to do that many clicks.
Mhm.
Yep.
I was talking last podcast about how I kind of almost want them to just get rid of physical gold entirely and have it be like just a thing that gets
bank.
stashed to your character or to a bank.
Oh.
I
like it
still kind of want that, but with this change, I am much less annoyed with gold overall. So I don't.
It's the
mind
little
that much.
things, bro. Like these little
Yeah,
changes, just like
yeah.
They go
like
a
how
long
much
way.
better is the game just because I don't have to fucking click the same gold pile 100
I don't
times.
click
Yeah.
50
Like
times.
holy
Right.
crap!
And
It's the same
like,
thing with listing items, Like we need a right click, like go to listing, like for this. Like
Mhm.
show me all the purple,
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
necklace this is. Like you know what I mean? Like one click, like give me the 2, whatever, right?
I gotta say, like, thank God for Tarkov because they already went through all this. It just took them a decade, and now we're just stripping like the marketplace and probably the
True.
right click, the show item on auction house. Like, yeah, all those things are just getting really good, really fast. I'm excited for next wipe because the content will drive people to us, but then people who haven't played in a while will also get to experience all of these minor changes, which will feel like a lot if you haven't played in a month.
That's true.
Or 2
If you
months.
imagine if you hadn't played since like I don't know October or November, and you come back and there's the ice map and there's the marketplace and gold
Goblin
automatically
Cave's
moves.
new.
Goblin
yeah.
Caves is new.
Yeah.
You got the 3-layer system. I mean, people are going to grow to hate ruins naturally because it sucks. But other than that, I mean,
Gonna have
game-
Druid obviously on the next,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Druid, you got
for
Arena.
sure,
Obviously getting Druid
absolutely.
guys.
We got a lot of buttons.
100%.
There's gonna be some shiny capes running around. It'll be weird.
Yeah, you're gonna see Aurelian Soul in every one of your games.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing that shit, bro. I don't want them to know that I'm fucking demigod.
Sticking that on, dude.
Wear
I like
your gray cape demigod.
I like this
Exactly.
first Q&A that we have. This is a good one. What do you guys think? Let's start with Katie. Do you think that with the upcoming wipe and the few additions that we've mentioned, will the game be able to hit like a stable 10K player count again, at least for the start of the wipe?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely for the start. Yeah, definitely for the
Yeah.
start of the wipe. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like even right now, a lot of the days when I log in on like a weekday, like when I was playing with Scott the other day, I think it was like Wednesday night, and there was like 5K in dungeon and like 5K in lobby. And so I don't think it would take that much to bring us back to like a nice like 10 to
8,000 on
12K
right now. I mean,
stable.
it's
This is end of wipe at the end of like a
Mhm.
very bad, long, grueling, miserable, sucky, rogue infested ruins wipe. Like, this is like the bottom of the barrel, and like we're still hanging in there.
Yeah.
Like
This is about as dry as the game has been in quite a while. So yeah, I think the fact that there's still this many people willing to stick it out means that, I mean, they've definitely demonstrated that they've got something special on their hands here. And we give them a lot of shit, but we're all still here playing this game for a reason.
yeah, but
So,
fuck rogues, like, you know.
Yeah, no, fuck rogues. I mean, remove them from the game. It's fine. Nobody would
I
care.
love the stream sniper class. It's my favorite.
They should rename it, dude. Holy crap.
All right, we
So-
got one from over here. Do you think demigod is too easy to get? And if it is,
Yes.
do you think it's because of how long the wipe is, or the player numbers in dead lobbies, or both?
It's just a bad rank system. I always talk about it. It's just a measurement of how many things you can pick up, and basically anyone can really get demigod if you want to. It's just like, in order to do it, like, are you willing to sacrifice your enjoyment to do it? That's all it is. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah,
who's willing to
tedious.
sacrifice the most enjoyment for the longest, and that's the rank system at the moment. And
So
that's kind of lame.
I actually have an idea for this. Let me know what you guys think. What if we combined what their previous idea was? Remember when they were like, we're going to give you the snapshot of your best 20 games, and that's how we take your rank. Grinding AP for demigod is really boring because it's just doing the same thing over and over again. But if we made it so that you had to do like maybe a punch card system where you had to buy a rank ticket or something, and you can only play 10 games, and you get a rank based on how well you performed in those 10 games. You'd constantly have to keep doing better in order to achieve the demigod rank. Would something like that be more engaging? You know, because then you would be worried about, you know, what could possibly go wrong in those like 10 games, maybe make it 20. Do we think that would be more engaging than what we have currently, where it's just you're just grinding an indeterminate amount of games until you get enough AP to hit demigod?
I'm not sure if that's much better.
Yeah,
I've had a similar idea. I hate the system. I mean, I want the old leaderboard. Like, it's not perfect either, right? Like, it's not perfect either. I would want the old leaderboard with like a smaller time window. Just like not 24/7 type of thing. Just like a weekend leaderboard or like X whatever
We
day.
had a lot of broken patches during this like wipe cycle,
Yeah.
so a lot of people were able to use some very, very interesting tactics to accumulate, you know, vast amounts of points, rather effortlessly, dare I say.
Well, the old leaderboards are cool, right? Because like you had your killer leaderboard. Like, okay, X1, these guys are like the fucking Giga Chad PvP lords. Then you have like the Orlanthe fucking kingpins over here farming the gold, and then you have the rat fucking board, you know, where you get extracts, like who's the best rogue type of thing.
I didn't like the kill leaderboard though. That added a lot of very bad pressure to the game. You know, I always thought if they were gonna have a kill leaderboard like that, it should be like a kill confirm. Like you got to loot something off the body, like take an ear, take the soul, like something. You know what I mean? Because
okay, let's
people
go,
would
baby.
chase you through the map to end your life, and then not even loot you, just leave. Right? Just the point for the point. That imaginary point was enough to cause it. Pretty much every single raging like 14-year-old that wanted to prove he was the best rogue on the planet to hunt you down mercilessly for that point. Right? And
So
I don't miss that being gone. That motivation
for 18 hours a day.
I hear this. I hear the narrative a lot, and like maybe that is like something for solos that's different than trios, but I don't think that's changed in trios. I think everyone's still always trying to kill everybody. no matter what, I will chase you down to the end of it because you are a fucking stream sniping rogue, and I have to.
True.
So
the only thing that's changed is now you are not required to do it 18 hours a day, or someone else will take your place.
It felt like a job before. Like we
Yeah.
saw somebody, and it was like a blood feud. Like
well, so
they had
that's what I
to
was
kill
saying.
you.
It should be a lower time window, right? It should be not the entirety of the season. They should track stats for weekends or a week out of the month.
I would be down for that. Like the leaderboard's open on the weekend, like and then to like get the numbers up or something. I can see it.
And it would create hype, right? Like, oh, the weekend's coming up. We are building up our bank, and we're gonna get the boys together on the weekend. We're gonna get some Red Bulls. We're gonna fucking go for it, boys. Like that.
This is very Gamer Dungeon high school talk.
Yeah, exactly.
But I understand it. But
I like that idea. I think the only thing to me that's different is because we're ranked from Pathfinder to Demigod, like it doesn't really feel like it matters what rank you are. You're almost always going to be fighting like either gold-plated Smurfs or just like high-ranking players. So we could separate the rank system from the AP system. Like you do all the AP stuff for points or what have you, and you get AP and you get the reward track. But then we have a separate ranking system that's like a battle royale, where like you get like, okay, you have AP for treasure and like the shit you accomplish, but then you have like RP, like rank points for like you killed 5 of 8 players in your match and you were the second to last player in the lobby. Because then you would also have people who just like wait until the very end. You would have like competitive people like portal camping and static camping each other to try to be like the last one out. And so maybe we need two separate ranks. You need like the fun
there needs to be
AP
a PvE
thing.
rank.
Yeah, like I mean, AP is like PvE rank, right? More or less, since you get almost no points for PvP.
That's why I said earlier is that I actually feel like AP. It's bad for the PvPvE part of the game, like especially the PvP part, because it de-emphasizes PvP. It actually encourages you not to engage with PvP.
Right.
Right. It disincentivizes it. So right. But the AP system is a good measure of you went in naked with the literal bare minimum that you could, so you could put on a full suit of garbage gear that doesn't give you stats you really want, wielding whatever weapon you could find, and shows that you have mastery of PvE because you were able to clear out the high value modules, deal with the dangerous targets, loot the most valuable items, and leave. That actually does a good job of showing how well you know PvE. We take that stuff for granted because we all play this game constantly and we're just on autopilot with that stuff. But for the average player, people get really excited about that stuff. They post about it on Reddit all the time. I know it gets drowned out by all the rage posts and stuff, but there's plenty of people who post on Reddit talking about how excited they are that they hit 900 AP on a run. They're like, look how good I did in my green rank that only cost me 50 points to get in. Everybody else is like, yeah, whatever, demigod free. But it still gives players something to work towards. It makes you feel like you're making progress, which is very important. So I don't think we should take that away.
And they talked about in the podcast the idea that they eventually want to have an Apex style, like infinite levels, like Diablo, I don't know, Prestige, whatever you want to call it. That's also something that, like Paragon levels, where especially if it's like a very minute increase, like I said, like let's say every 10 levels you get a point and you can get like 1 luck, which isn't a lot of luck, right? Like you get 150 from a potion sometimes. So if you spend like 100 Paragon points to get just 10 base luck, I don't know, like little things like that wouldn't affect PvP.
I would
like
love that,
you
actually.
like 0.1% monster damage. And
might be
another
too
thing
low,
that
but
I think of that my chat talks about a lot, because I'm mostly a solo player, is part of the friendliness of solos and why like there's not as much PvP is because we can't fucking boss, dude. Like only GK is really achievable solo, and even that's pretty hard for like a huge portion of the player base. And so it makes me not want to PvP, because I know after I spend 30 minutes to get somewhere, I would like to be able to like finish. And when I open the door and it's Warlord, I'm like, okay, cool. Or I open the door and it's like Lich. I'm like, I gotta go find somebody, because I need at least one other person to do this boss, and like they better be competent. So I've talked to my stream a lot at this. Katie, Ken, what do you guys think? Can we make the solo bosses have like a little bit less stats or like less mechanics? Like Warlord is fucking impossible, dude.
Well,
no one's gonna solo that.
Like I said, I always said like we should have just solo do a trio for Crips back in the day. I was always saying that. And I'm like, you could just scale the boss's health down for solo do a trio. Like it's not fucking rocket science. It's just math. It's not crazy.
There's certain mechanics that need to get changed too. Like Lich Purple Circle needs to be reduced if you're a solo.
Yeah.
Scaling wouldn't bother me.
Like 95 trios, like 85 if you catch it alone duos, and like 75 if you catch it alone solos.
Yeah,
like something. It's gotta be livable.
Like solo lich could spawn 4 ads instead of 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right.
Warlord like 4 instead of 8.
Yeah.
I'm still
But-
curious if they ever plan to add a PvE only mode to this game, because I know that there is a non-insignificant place, like sum of players that would love to play this game as a PvE only mode. Myself, not really. I could take it or leave it. I think it'd be something fun to just dick around on if I don't have much time to do something. I could go in there and play, but I have friends who would never touch this game because it's a PvP sweatfest, but would love to play it if it was PvE, and that AP system that they have in place right now would be great for, and like you mentioned, having like some kind of leveling track where you can like progressively power up your character over the season through a PvE dungeon. I could see people getting really engaged with that, and they could, I mean, that's a whole different box to open up there, but there's a lot they could do with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you could choose what boss you got to, then you could have new builds. You could like PvE test. You could have people like Distortion come in and do like Slayer, PvE, time trial, Ghost King, and he just does it like over and over, trying to get better and better and better. And then you find skips. You could have a whole tournament around that. Like, doesn't World of Warcraft do like Mythic Dungeon Invitational and it's just PvE time trials?
Yeah, speedrun.
So you'd see like, I don't know, some crazy shit. Like somebody pulls everything in the dungeon to the boss room, and they're just like a warlock, just phantomized firewalk on like 85 ads plus boss.
The fastest full Inferno clear plus boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, that's kind of a good idea. All right, here's a question. Like with like the introduction of like Ice Mastery, Sword Mastery, are there any other type of masteries you guys want to see in the game?
Spear Mastery for Fighter. I said this before. I want there to be a Spear Mastery for Fighter that lets them wear. They introduce chainmail, cap them at like medium armor that's like chainmail level, and then give them Spear Mastery. Because I want there to be more identities for classes where like you look at something and you go, that's a fighter wearing chainmail with a spear. I don't want to fuck with him in like a closed hallway because that's where spear is really good. I'm just gonna, like, if you see somebody there, you're gonna back off. I think that adding more stuff like that to this game would be, I can only see good to come from that.
Yeah, and I like the mastery stuff so far. Like all the masteries are pretty cool. I definitely want to see more of that kind of stuff. What about you, Sobe? Any cool masters? Masteries you want to see? Rat Mastery, maybe?
Rat Master, that's got the Druid form.
Shapeshift Mastery.
I don't know, like if I had to make one change to the classes now, I would like you could definitely add masteries, or like you guys keep talking about more buttons, more fun. Just have I would love just a PvE thing, like a perk slot for PvE only, and you can choose like 1 of 5, and hopefully it's an active skill. And it does nothing in PvP at all. It just like lets you fuck around, because it'd be nice to push buttons, kind of like you mentioned. And Dungeonborn was also a symptom of this problem, is that you have to save your Q and E on almost every class in this game in case you get PvP. So that means you're just always left clicking. That's why a lot of us play Longsword, because it gives you something else to do. Like I can parry and riposte. So just
you're right,
something, dude. I don't know.
The biggest argument for that. I mean, just maybe something, maybe a shove or something. I don't know, anything.
Or like an ultimate where like if you every 10 monsters you kill, you can push like T, and it does like 15 holy damage around you to monsters. Like I don't know, just a fucking button to push.
More buttons, more good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People like buttons.
On a related topic to perks, sorry, Ken.
You're fine.
Someone queued this one up yesterday that usually can't catch the pod live. Grassy Tiger, thanks for this question in advance. What perk ideas do you guys have that can impact the game and alter class designs without just increasing damage?
Well, so I was like, back on the topic of masteries, this kind of fits into both, right? I thought it would be cool to have a lightning mastery where basically it means that you're immune to your own lightning damage. So I could just run up to people and point blank chain lightning them and not worry about offing myself.
Oh my god!
Well, I'm not increasing damage. I am just making it safer for me, baby. I'm putting on my rubber gloves.
Like a god mode, personally. 5-10 seconds of invulnerability would be about what I need.
I'd like to be Thor. Okay, it's just
I want to be immune to my own lightning. Not everybody else is just mine. Just mine.
Yeah, I'm sure that wouldn't be broken in Iron Mace's coding either.
At the cost of a perk. I don't know. They'd be all right.
Okay, now just imagine Ken runs in with chain lightning and then insta cast chain lightning, and almost everybody else is dead, and he's just full health still, just laughing.
That sounds fucking sick, dude.
That's exactly what he was thinking of. But no, to actually answer the question, I think that's what we're all hoping for multi-classing / training to be. but just something that lets you. I mean, there are like blatantly broken, obvious things off the top of people's heads, like having a rogue barbarian, like somebody that can stealth and then one tap you out of stealth with a bardiche. Like that's just not something we want in the game. But I do think that there's ways that they can implement it where you're able to have some kind of crossover or like some sort of utility that is accessible to you at a weaker, level, but just allows people to like really customize their characters and take their builds the way they want them to be. It's going to be a lot of work for them to implement, which is probably why it's said coming soon for 2 years now. But I think that's what we're all hoping for it to be.
Yep. Agreed. All right. What else we got?
Weapon
Time to
masters
dive into some
on
goddamn
fighters,
dungeons.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Wait, what?
Wait, say it again. Say it again. Sorry.
Sorry. Weapon masters with fighter, the perk, they should be able to use the flute. Okay,
drums.
parry on the flute.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Yes, please.
That's fucking gypped.
I mean, not wrong.
That's all I'm saying.
I said for a while, I wish Weapon Master just gave you a third weapon slot as well. Like if it just gave you an additional weapon slot.
Free heavy slot? Are you kidding me? I'm in.
That'd be awesome.
More utility slots, more
Sign me
weapon
up.
slots.
More buttons, dude.
It's actually good. Yeah.
More buttons.
Yeah.
More buttons.
We're all getting on the same page here. Everybody's sort of saying the same thing now.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Katie. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes,
it was a
thank
true
you.
and complete pleasure.
Before we go, Katie, do plug. Tell us about where we can find you, what you do, what you get up to.
I
Like, what are you wearing?
stream.
Like,
trash bag,
Alright.
medium size. But yeah.
All right, Kanye, calm down.
Twitch.tv/Katie. That's pretty much where you find me. I got a YouTube too. It's Katie Rue. You can find that as well. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
awesome.
Thanks for coming on. It was a
Yeah.
good time to
Have a
have
good one,
you. We'll definitely be consulting with our list of guests that we have growing in our group chat. It is becoming more and more
Have to work
unmanageable by the
active
day. Yeah, we're
Yes,
gonna
please.
at one of these points we're gonna have to have like a super recap episode where we get everybody that we've invited on in the past into a single episode.
And we make them fight to the death.
Yeah.
That's our tournament, the Hold the Line tournament.
No, we do like a 4v4 with like Ryan, Katie, and Boss, and then like Soma, Jay, and like Repos, and then we ask them questions. But then we, as a panel of like us four, we actually numerically value their answers.
Like judges.
Ken's,
Like judges.
chain lightning doesn't hurt you. 0, dude.
It's whose line is it anyway? We're literally.
I'll be Ryan
just putting it
Seacrest. Wait, no. It'll be Ryan Seacrest. I lied.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers.
Have a good night, guys.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Bye.
And
All
Ryan
right, bye,
Seacrest. Bye,
everybody.
Katie.
Bye,
See
everybody.
you guys. Have
All
a
right,
good one.
boys. Was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
As usual. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Adios.